just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee, the best coffee in all the land. Turn that frown upside down. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au. We've got the pods back, the everyday grumpy pods. We've got the very grumpy pods. We've got 250 grams of the everyday. The 1 kilo has sold out. However, the 1 kilo everyday grumpy will be restocked tomorrow. We've got the 1 kilo of very grumpy there. It is all there. Grumpycoffee.com.au. Turn that frown upside down. It's a beautiful, both of our blends, absolutely beautiful. Give them a crack. That is grumpycoffee.com.au. Alrighty, the Roo, how you going, brother?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay.
Okay, Jesus.
The grumpy coffee wouldn't go Australia this morning.
Holy. Okay, that's a very enthusiastic start. Timmy, how you going, mate?
I'm feeling snug, Kempy.
Okay.
I'm feeling very snug. And this is not a paid endorsement, but it's because of a certain set of underwear.
Oh, see, he's just teeing me up. He's teeing me up, Hammy.
Hey, not to make this all about Bo Webster too early, but he's actually from a town called Snug in Tasmania. So, Slug from Snug, they call him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And we're speaking of undies too.
Absolutely. I'm very well. Just got back from Adelaide last night. Had a fantastic couple of days. I'm a bit fresher and more up and about than everybody. But
Yeah, I think the boys are a bit dusty. Dusty. There was the Hello Sport drink up last night, Christmas party, get together.
We got together.
Yeah. Okay.
I've moved quicker before, I'll be honest. But
Okay, how'd
it's
it
all
go?
right. Yeah, it was a good knock.
All
Best
right.
on ground.
We're on a podcast here, boys, so let's try and expand on the situation.
My best on ground, Streety would have been right up there. Rando has a good knock.
Rando, he's had a huge couple of years. Big knock when he played the footy, outstanding.
Yes.
Yep.
Then also gets on the beers.
yeah.
He's got a lot of rugby league in him, Rando.
Any stats around his beers sort of intake or?
I think it was more the cocktails he did.
Okay.
He's a
all right.
cocktail man. Okay.
Random drink guy.
It was a narrow margin between Rando for best on ground and Thomas Tobler.
Oh, the
Okay.
Tobler.
Tobler was
Okay.
in absolutely red hot form as
Okay.
well.
Love to hear that.
How's your weekend? How was the fashion capital, Ballarat?
Fashion capital, Ballarat,
Yep.
yeah. So, look, it was a big week for me last week. I had to
was.
fly up to sunny coast to... a lot of the packages you get out over the last week, guys, at Bought Grumpy Coffee, they were packed by yours truly.
Hey.
Yours truly had to fly up there and pack it all up. That's how much I wanted to get them up because we
Packer up
didn't have
boys.
any. It was Packer Up Boys, literally. Yeah, look, big week last week. Sunny Coast Tuesday, then obviously worked all week and then had some extra radio shows with the run home. Then Saturday I had to fly down to...
The fashion capital.
the fashion capital, which is Ballarat. So flew down, drive an hour and a half out, walked out. But what we didn't realise, and Sam didn't realise this, so he said, look, get here for about 12.
Yep.
You'll leave about 1:30. So we're assuming, and Sam's assuming, like the men's fashion show will probably be towards the end. And so when I got there, it was about 12:20. And the reason why I got there at 12:20 is because the walk in was like this long driveway that like takes ages to get there. Anyway, so got in there, and as I got there, the friggin' blokes are up there, the first rather than the last.
Jeez.
So we misjudged it. If I had known it was going to be at 12:30, obviously I would have got there at like 11:30.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like quickly throwing everything on. It's all back to front. I don't know what's going on. I had to literally run on stage, and I was entered before, but they thought we'd missed it. So I had to just walk on the stage and just be like standing there so she would come over and start speaking to me. Then there's just like this dude in his dress up. And there was these three dudes dressed up. There was this old dude, like cute as anything, dapper as anything, had like his little Peaky Blinders hat on,
Yep.
vest, everything. How you beating that bloke? You're not beating that bloke. Had to do with a big beard. I said, did you lose a bet? And I was like, oh, that sounds bad. Like, as if, like, what are you doing up here? Then he's like, no, he got pushed up here or something. Then some other guy, he had a top hat on, looked like he was selling a monorail.
You had the Ballarat monorail salesman out there.
Yeah, tried to sell me a bloody train.
Yeah. Did you invest?
No investing, Anyway, so on Wednesday, Sportsbet should release the Kraken, as they say.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a good time. It was a fun time, and it was great. It was just real smooth. Walked in. It was always good working with Sportsbet, as you know.
I gather you didn't walk away for 2 points then, mate.
I didn't, but
Robbed.
No, but I was definitely robbed. You know why? Because the lady announcing it, she actually apologised to me only. She didn't apologise. She said, "Sorry, you haven't won this time, but we really do appreciate your effort." The other guys, she didn't say that to the other guys, so that suggests to me that they wanted to give it to me. But there's an old dapper man there. You always got to give it to the old dapper man.
Yeah.
And also Ballarat fashions on the field. It's always been very political like this.
Yeah, there's a
Too
lot
much
of politics.
politics.
Yeah, a lot of politics in it.
That's always been the knock on the Ballarat fashion.
Yeah,
show.
yeah. If they want to go mainstream, I think they need to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you look fantastic. Got a bit of national coverage on racing.com there as well. Which
I know, yeah, great. It was awesome for not being embarrassed and everything. Because when I went up there, that's when someone sent me a screenshot saying how good. Well, so I didn't know racing.com was friggin' filming it.
Yeah.
And I already was in a terrible mood because on, what would have been, Wednesday?
Yep.
Went in to get a root canal for my tooth. Go in there. Anyway, so he's aggressive as anything, bloody smashing my mouth apart. And it's already shit enough getting a root canal. Anyway, so we get like 40 minutes into it, and he's like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, what?
Oh, you don't like to hear that from a dentist.
Yeah, from a dentist. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so snapped off one of the files, the metal files, in my gum.
Oh.
And it's still in there right now.
Yeah, good.
And he's like, oh, you're going to have to go see a specialist. And I was like,
Jeez.
What? What are you talking about?
Aren't you the specialist?
Yeah, exactly. And then he was like, oh, actually, this isn't my specialty. Like, I just do it. And I was like, okay, that's awesome to hear. Anyway, so I'm already, when I went down to Ballarat, I had an aching gum like the whole day. So it was absolute nightmare of a day. Nightmare of a week, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I have to go back today. And they basically have just got to leave that in there now because he spoke to the specialist and they're like, yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
The old Joe root canal, hey?
Yep. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Pain in Australia's ass and pain in my ass.
Yeah, a lot of synergies. Well, sorry to hear that, mate.
Yeah. So, look, it's all good, though. I'll push through. That's what I do here. I push through.
Yep.
Anyway, so that was my weekend. You'll see the content on Wednesday with Sportsbet. And, guys, as was alluded to earlier, bloke undies are now available. And when I say these are softer than bamboo. So the bamboo's all the rage right now. These are softer than bamboo, and you can go on the website and see all the notes about it, but holds its shape really well, takes away the sweat, everything. It's also, I've been wearing ours for ages. The chafe is, you don't get chafe. It's got that protection. It's got everything. These are as high a quality undies as you can literally, I'm pretty sure, make, at least to my knowledge. So that is bloke.shop. Trust me, guys, once you try these, I've already been getting messages from people saying, wow, I actually didn't expect them to be this high quality. So go to bloke.shop, grab your grumpy undies, and on top of all of that, this was by popular demand. We weren't going to sell these, and the amount of people that have been asking for the Grumpy Coffee mugs, we said, you know what, let's get them made. The Grumpy Coffee mugs are now available, I think, on grumpycoffee.com. And so make sure to grab them because they're a limited amount, guys, and we literally only got these made because everyone kept asking for them. They are, as we speak, the Grumpy Coffee mugs are now available on grumpycoffee.com.au, and they are limited, so perfect Christmas gift. Once these are gone, guys, it's going to take, we won't have any more ready for easily into next year. So go to grumpycoffee.com.au to get your Grumpy Coffee mug. All right, let's face a bit of the music. Let's see how we did go tipping-wise. And I'll tell you what, there's one bloke here. He nearly sent someone bust.
Yeah, get around me. Back on the one-ply toilet paper this week in the office at Sportsbet. Sorry, guys.
No lights. They're using phone lights at the moment.
Yeah, like the Adelaide Oval the other day.
Yeah.
Did you see what happened there?
They turned the wrong lights off because at the back they was, yeah.
Nathan Lyon went out for some throwdowns and they accidentally turned the lights off. Outrageous. Legit, that's what happened. Outrageous.
Yeah, it's tough out there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that'll be the scenes in a Sportsbet potentially this week. Now, a little bit of data coming in. For this game, Australia versus India, outside of the head-to-head market, Hammy's bloke in a bar multi was the second best backed market on the whole game. 2,000 punters got
around.
Would
that be on the whole thing day as well?
On the whole game.
No, but I mean, would that be as well on all sports, do you think?
There'd probably, a bit of basketball, a bit of soccer, probably some other ones, but for the Test cricket, not bad.
Not bad.
Moving the needle here.
We're moving the needle, baby.
On the Bloke Monday show. So look, how did we all finish? Everyone back to Australia, which is great. Even Matty tipped against India, his preferred team, which must have been tough for him. But Australia don't lose ping ball test in Adelaide. That's 8 now, so we all get a point there.
I said
that. You did say that, but probably not your best session out in the middle.
What do you mean? Manus was great.
Hey, Manus got back into some form, which we're all very happy about.
Didn't he get the second most runs?
Second, but we're doing most runs, Mark.
Yeah, I know, but I went okay still.
Yeah, not bad.
That's like saying I got a bloke that got out for a duck.
Yeah, well, you didn't quite get that. Look, he was better, but you didn't get a point for him. And you had Pat Cummins bowled very well in the second innings, but he didn't challenge in the first innings. So no other points apart from head-to-head for you. Timmy, you had Bumrah, top India wicket taker. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, the way that he's been going?
Yeah, picking wingers.
Not a huge gap, but
typical from Timmy, picking wingers.
Points to points.
Yeah, points to points. Matty, you had Travis Head, top Australian run scorer, so well done to you. Roo, the cricket guru, they're calling him at the moment. Travis Head, you had top Australia run scorer. Starkey, top Australian wicket taker, first innings, which saluted. And then I had Australia, Travis Head, and Bumrah. So I went across the teams there. $25 it was paying. So if you got
Ooh.
on and you bump into me at the SCG test, feel free to purchase me a refreshment of some sort.
Yeah,
I'm not going to put words in your mouth or force you. If you're going to do that, that'd be fantastic. So this week, here's how I finished. Rue and myself both got 3. And I've actually decided, because we've got a perfect round there, to give us both a bonus point for this week as well. So we're both
Good
getting
call.
a bonus point. Well done. Timmy and Matty, 2 points. And Denon, just the 1 for you this week, Mr.
tough
Cricket.
week. It's been a tough week.
Sorry to rub a bit of salt into or a bit of iodine into the gum wound there. So overall, for the postseason, Rue, you're leading on 16, I'm on 15, Denon and Matty have 14, and Timmy, who forgot to submit a couple of weeks of tips, is on 8.
I've got a bone to pick too.
Okay, here we go.
So I'm leading the off-season, obviously the cricket guru. And yesterday, in our group chat, you mentioned that we're going to talk about cricket today. And you said we'll do a deep dive into the test. Hammy, Timmy, and Matty.
Yeah.
I was specifically left off the list.
I was too.
No, I'm aware, but you sent the list. It felt like it was a targeted attack, and I'm currently leading the cricket betting market. So.
Hey, listen, first of all, we all know tipping is usually reserved for people that don't know shit about what they're talking about. And because in the off-season, I should become a last. And second of all, look, I'm just honest, Roo. If you can't take honest feedback, mate, I know cricket, and unfortunately, you don't.
These boys wanted to scorch earth last test match. Sack everyone, get rid of everyone. I'm really looking forward to today's analysis.
Okay. Time for a bit of eat your words, eh, boys?
Yeah.
Hey, ripping in the Australian side, basically sack everyone. What happened there?
No, that was Hammy, not me.
Don't think so. No, I said give them all another game. They'll come good with the pink ball. We never lose pink ball games at Adelaide, and the proof was in the pudding. 8th game in a row with the pink ball that we've won at Adelaide. So we're always going to come good. Yeah.
Hey, you did put your money where your mouth was because you actually did. You got up.
I've just saluted a 25-1 winner. Don't put this on me. I said Australia were going to win, and the local boy, Travis Head, that's his 3rd ton at Adelaide Oval in a row. Outrageous. He's like the, obviously he's loved everywhere, Travis Head, probably the most relatable, knockabout, old school cricketer that we got. But to go and do that when the deck was doing a bit, they will build him a statue at that ground at some point. They will. Darren Lehman's got one there at the moment. This guy's got a ton in a World Test Championship final, a World Cup final. He's got more Test tons at Adelaide Oval than any other South Australian. It's coming at some point.
All right. Build him a statue.
Yep.
And that leads us into our next little segment. That was thanks to Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. Give us myself a follow. Give Hammy a follow. I mean, get around him.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Get around him.
Yeah.
But yeah, give us a follow on the feed. A massive thank you as always to our partners at Sportsbet. Alrighty, time for our hungriest player. And you've already given it away. But our hungriest player is Travis Head. Use code HEAD for free delivery this week. Minimum spend is $30. Use code HEAD for free delivery. Code is $30. But, I mean, again, I don't know much about cricket, but this guy's ability to step up in big moments, holy.
Outrageous.
He eats the pressure.
He does.
It's unbelievable.
And regularly does it against India. Like, it's almost like he picks this team out and goes, right, let's go. That's where he saves his best cricket.
Would
for.
India have the strongest bowling?
Yeah,
at the moment.
But no one could bat against Bumrah, but he didn't care. He made 140. It was off a runner ball as well, so did it in really quick time.
Now let's talk about Siraj.
Yes,
carrying on after getting smacked around for 140.
I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to talk about Mohammad Siraj. Ridiculous. I mean, the man, very bold of him to do that. He's going to get booed everywhere he plays for the rest of this series in Australia. Maybe anytime he comes to Australia from here on in, because Travis Head obviously saved us in the game. He's a local boy. He's from Adelaide as well. Run a ball 140 and you bowled him, and you gave him a bit of a send-off. Outrageous. You put everyone offside right away there. And it wasn't the first thing that he'd done in that game as well.
Yeah, nice. Our boy Marnus, he bloody threw a ball at him, didn't he?
He did, after some bloke ran behind the side screen with a beer snake.
Yeah.
And they say Australia has no culture.
Yeah.
And he pulled away and he threw the ball at Marnus. He did something else as well, I'm pretty sure. He was on an absolute tear the other day, Siraj. He was just didn't read the rube whatsoever. And then he came out and said Travis Head was a liar.
Yeah, and he doubled down on it.
Yeah.
Surely you just come out and go, listen, we weren't playing well.
Yep.
I was frustrated. I wanted to get him out. And when I got him out, all that passion and frustration came to the surface.
Yep.
If he says that, universally, I get that. I want my players, if that was my countrymen,
Yep.
I want them to care as much as he did. He's doubling down.
Yeah, outrageous. Terrible. I think they're both getting fined. I think very harsh. I think Travis's comments, if you're a good lip reader, you'll already be across them. But they summed up the sentiment pretty well from the crowd.
Well, imagine a winger getting
Yep.
4 tries scored against him, and then he tackles him out on the 5th try and starts getting in his face. That's what it's like.
Yep.
You'd be like, Do you realise you just had 4 tries scored on you and you had like an absolute Barry Crocker?
Yeah.
Unbelievable
Terrible.
stuff.
What did you make of it, Timmy? I thought it was pretty ordinary.
Oh, it was lame.
Yep.
What a way to go about it. Bloke just puts 140 runs on you, belts you across the park, and then you give him a send-off. Ordinary form. Chavy Head, though, 140 runs. Like, and so he came so far from that first test and how badly we were dominated there. Scored almost half our runs in that game. It's like you sit there and go, oh, like it's almost like covered over the issues in our batting order. Phenomenal win. 140 of, 330 runs. Even in the first test, like he saved us from a bit of embarrassment as well. Like we were dominated, but he's the only one who got runs there. So
what about and this is going to sound, this is going to reflect how little I know about cricket. But I feel like he doesn't get spoken about as much as like your Smiths and your Marnus. And granted, I understand Smith has got like a long career, but like when we speak about our great batters, he usually doesn't get brought up as much. And yet, since I've been trying to get into cricket, he's probably been our best batter. Why is that?
He's been our best for, 2-3 years now?
Yeah. I suppose the microscope is on the top 4 a little bit more because he bats in the middle order. He's at number 5. He did it, last year he did made a couple of tons, but he got 3 golden ducks as well. So he maybe, if he was doing that at the top of the order, there might have been a bit more, scrutiny. But because he so often makes big scores down the order and then in such memorable kind of, big games that matter, he usually turns it on when stuff matters, If we had lost this game, series is probably gone. He does it in finals. He does it on big stages. So he probably gets a little bit more leeway there if he has a couple of failures in a row because he's going to come good at some point and turn it around. And he's also very likeable. Like a lot of the other guys, I feel, nothing against them, but they're not that relatable. They're a little bit, very polished and kind of media trained, whatever. He's very authentic and relatable. So I think people...
The old school Australian cricket, like the Ricky Poddings, Justin Lane, Matt Hayden, these... blokes, real old school sort of blokes, tough competitors. Not to say the current crop aren't, but Travis Head fits that mould perfectly, doesn't he?
That's right. Loves a beer, and he's not a rig grub.
But like when I talk about why isn't he talked about in the same breaths as like your Smiths and your Marnuses? Is it because of the longevity of what they've done?
100% longevity.
Yeah.
I think they've probably they've been around and now that they're probably not in the best form, and they've had such, they've been very consistent for a long time. So when they drop off, I suppose it stands out a little bit more.
Yep.
So that's probably
how much longer do you reckon? Like, will Head never be compared to them because he's not an opener, or how much longer does he have to continue to do this before he starts probably getting appreciated in that tier of batter?
He's very close to it. And Hammy rattled off like World Test Championship final time, ODI World Cup final time. 140 against India when our backs were against the wall, and it's like it's a one-off test. Doesn't sound, but where we came from. Just over a week ago, we could go 2-0 down against India at home. He's very close to it.
So even if he's middle order, if he continues this form, he can get put in that same tier as our openers.
Yeah, I think so. And it's good that he wants to stay there. He said it in the part, like a lot of people like, maybe they should make him the opener because he's probably similar to Dave Warner, like, the way that he goes about it. But he's happy staying at 5. He might go back up for the games in the subcontinent when they change how the team looks. But I think he's happy to stay there. And, he's got another 5 or 6 good years in him. Like, by the time, if he's not already, he'll be spoken about in the same way as like...
Because since I've been trying to get into cricket, he's easily been our best batter.
Yeah.
Like, easily.
And the thing about him as well is he does it not just in Test cricket, but he also dominates one day and T20 cricket as well. So
there aren't a lot of cricketers who can really just do all 3 formats at such a high click. He does it unbelievably
well. Yeah, he does. Yep.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
So he touted from a young age to be good. Like for me, and I'm the same as Kempy, I don't feel exclusive, but I feel like he's sort of just popped up over the last few years.
Yeah, no, he came through the junior kind of. I've just listened to. He was on the Howie Games podcast. I was listening to that on the way over to Adelaide. And he came through kind of the junior ranks. All the Aussie under-19 stuff, and then South Australia were dreadful when he first started, and he got made the captain of South Australia at the age of 20 or 21, youngest captain they'd ever had. And that really accelerated his development there a little bit. He had a lot of senior guys. Andrew McDonald, he captained, who's now the coach of the Test side, all this sort of stuff. So he was in and out a little bit over a little period, but probably the last 5 years he's really, shored up a spot, particularly last 2 years.
Why haven't they considered him as an opener? When that chat is always brought up, why don't they push him in there?
Well, he doesn't want to do it.
Okay.
Because the ball
came out straight away, right? And he was like, no, like I'm happy in the middle order. I don't want to go up the order.
Yeah.
The ball does a little bit more at the way he likes to come in and tee off. So hopefully by the time he comes in, if the top order's done its job, the ball's not swinging around as much.
Yep.
If he went to the top,
because the only reason I say that is like we're so desperate for it.
Yep.
Like
it's like it seems like an easy fix. Like, let's just get the dude batting at number 5 or number 6 who's getting runs, put him up the order. It's just like, as Hammy said, different ball, harder ball, swinging ball, different conditions.
Do you think we'll ever get that desperate, though?
No. Not for him to go there. I think he's earned the right to say, I want to bat here.
Okay. Yep.
And I think as well, if you move him up there, you're going to have a big hole at number 5 then. Who are you going to put there? Because he plays like that Adam Gilchrist role. Like, as soon as he comes in, he can take the game away from you in one session like he did the other day. So
and he showed like 140 of 330 runs sort of thing. Come in the middle order, you don't have to, you can be effective from the middle order. It's if they move him up, as Hammy said, it just leaves it, and then there's a hole in the middle order, and there's other issues there. So
The only thing I think of is go, okay, do we have more juniors that would suit the middle order than the opening batters?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting what's happened in the past probably 2 weeks since the series started. We go, who's going to open? We've got nobody. McSweeney's coming. I thought he looked pretty good in his innings. But we've got Sam Constas floating around, who's the next one who will probably come in, made that ton against the Pams.
he's
11.
like phenomenal. 18, 19.
Yeah, and he made it against the Indian attack as well in Canberra.
The entire Indian bowling attack, Kempy, in the Prime Minister's 11 game, minus Jasper Bumrah, but the rest of them were all there. Threw in like Jadeja played as well. Tunned up there. He scored 88 in the Shield during the week as well.
Yep.
He's like had a ton in the Under-19s World Cup, I think it was, for Australia, obviously. He's an opening bat. He looks like the next in line, an absolute sensation. If we lost this test, I think there's a massive chance that he debuts this series. Because we've won, McSweeney got a few runs, Marnus got a few runs, so we're back on track now. Probably won't need to, but he's a star.
To answer your question about depth in opening the batting as well as him, there's a guy called Henry Hunt, originally from Queanbeyan, just outside of Canberra, now with South Australia.
Strong name, Henry Hunt.
It's good, isn't it? And he's just scored his 3rd Shield ton for the season as well. So he's there. He's probably a more natural opener than McSweeney is, because McSweeney's gone from the middle order. They've moved him up. But
I hope he kills it, because then we could be like, I'm having a Henry Hunt.
Exactly. Get him in there.
Get him in there.
And they've done Kempy as well. Like they moved Steve Smith from number 4, where he's batted the majority of his career, to open last season against like Pakistan, West Indies. Didn't work. McSweeney, who he went all right the first time, but again he's sort of number 3-4 batsman. He's opening the batting. It's a tough gig. So you're right. We do need someone. Hopefully it's consistent, but at the same time, like Uzi's getting on a little bit, but McSweeney in his 2nd Test match, he looked pretty good.
Could we go, because like I've heard like there's kind of some whispers around Smith retiring. Could we move him back to 4 and bring in the young fellas to open, and we have a stronger middle as well?
Smith's back to 4.
So he has been moved back to 4. Okay,
so back to 4 for this series. And McSweeney, who generally bats at number 3 or 4, he's opening the bat. So an unfamiliar role, but he looked right.
Just on Smith, who you were talking about.
Yeah, is he close to retirement?
He needs some runs. He looks, well out of sorts at the moment. He got out a pretty shit way, caught down the leg side off Bumrah, which is a bit unlucky, but he's really struggling for fluency at the moment, isn't he?
Massively. And I think Marnus probably saved his spot with a few runs, 64 in this
Your
test.
boy.
I think
you called it.
I backed him in. I
think if Marnus didn't get runs in this test, he's probably out.
Yep.
But back on track, all good. Yeah.
And he looked real good. It wasn't just like a fluky 64. And the shot that he got out on, he absolutely middled that. But it was good captaincy. They actually put a bloke, because he'd hit a few through there, straight to Jai, so it was a good catch. But he looked real good. He looked as good as he was when he was number 1 Test batter in the world.
How close is Smith to retirement, do you think?
It's all form, isn't it? You don't know. The thing is, all these greats of not even just Australian cricket, but world cricket, everyone regresses at the back end of their cricket. I think the only player, in my mind, who probably went out on top is AB de Villiers. He averaged early 50s and went out when he was like probably the best cricketer in the world. But Ricky Ponting, Sachin Tendulkar, all these blokes, their last couple of years, they just regress. And I think Sachin didn't have a ton in his final 2 years of cricket. He got one late and sort of got back on track. Ponting's average went from like mid-50s. He dropped to like 50.3 or something. Yeah. Smith is currently doing that. It's like...
Could it be a Kohli situation where he can get bowled back into form?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it can happen. But history tells you... It's like the old saying is, as your eyes go, isn't it? As your eyes go, your time is a little bit far off, your reaction time's a little bit further off. It starts to go, and it happens to every great cricketer. It looks like that's happening to Smithy at his age at the moment. That being said, he's also a champion. There's no reason why he can't come back and get runs. However, as it stands, as you said, Hammy, he needs runs.
How's our depth in the middle then?
Depth in the middle, not too bad. I mean, McSweeney's probably a guy that could go down into the. I think eventually he probably will settle in the middle somewhere.
And the young gun will come through.
If Constas comes through and, ticks the boxes and he is what we're expecting him to be, and he opens, McSweeney will go back to probably number 4. That being said, then you look at Usman Khawaja, who's also struggling for runs at the moment. It's one good test, but there's still some issues there.
How much are we missing Cam Green?
Cam Green, it's actually probably solved a problem for us, because if he was fit and available, Smith would probably still be opening the batting. And he'd be batting at 4. They want Cam Green to settle into that number 4 role. We're making do without him though, because Mitch Marsh is there at number 6. He still looks a little bit injured, I reckon. Bo Webster's floating around. Look, we're not like completely stuffed without him. We've got some very good all-rounded depth, but when he's fit and available again, he'll probably go back into that number 4 area where Smith is. So we've probably dodged a bullet there by having him not available, because it would mean there's probably a tough call that need to be made.
Okay.
When you talk about guys getting older, like Steve Smith, like he's 35 now, is that like the general sort of age that you see?
Yeah. I mean, Usman's 38.
Yeah.
And he had a real renaissance, because it was only like 3 years ago he got brought back into the squad. So that the idea that you can have that that last 3 years, he's proof you can.
You can. And I think that he would be eyeing off, I imagine, we've got the Ashes at home next year. That might be a good way to kind of, finish up. The Cricket Australia will want him to stick around. We've got a series in Sri Lanka. He's a very good player of spin. They're very hard to come by. So I think even if he has a lean summer, they'll keep.
And that Sri Lankan series next year as well, that is our final series in the World Test Championship. So it's very tight up top between us, India, of course, up there as well. South Africa have gotten themselves back into it. So that Sri Lankan series, I think it's a 2-test series over there. There's every chance we're going to need to win probably one of those to be in the World Test Championship final.
Yep.
So it's going to be a big series.
Okay. We'll do more cricket talk a bit later, guys, in regards to looking forward to the next test. But yeah, Head's our hungriest player. Free delivery, minimum spends $30. Alrighty. The biggest...
just on hungriest player very quickly, I just need to read a text that I got from Maddie over the weekend. Yep. All right. This is a text I got from Maddie over the weekend that I thought you guys would be interested in. Had a dream last night that we were in the USA and you took a photo of me and Joe Rogan, but you wouldn't send it to me because you were streaming the Sheffield Shield on your phone, despite the test being on at the same time. Then you told me that you should be Menulog's hungriest player because of your appetite for state cricket. I think I need a holiday from the podcast.
I think you do. Well, guys, that's a good to let everyone know. Next week, next Monday, is our last podcast for the year. We'll be back. I think it's like the Jan 6 week or the week after, but essentially the first week of next year. So yeah, next week is our last show of the year. Alrighty, big news overnight. Terrell May went on the Buy Round podcast with Jimmy Graham, and he spoke about his departure from the Roosters. He said it was a strange one. He said nothing was said or mentioned at all during the year. Getting a phone call from Robbo, I was thinking of all the good things. It was a whole 180 of what I thought the original call was going to be about. I was in shock. I didn't digest it all until a week later. I was thinking, what did I do wrong? We don't see you as the future of the club and we're going a different direction. That was my explanation from Trent Robinson, he said. He also said he felt like it was a strategy to let him go late so he wouldn't be able to get to a top club. I guess it really is one of those situations where I'm sure there's probably going to be some Roosters fans that are a bit frustrated with his candid, opinion of the situation. But then also I'm sure there's a lot of Roosters fans that are frustrated with the way this has been handled. But from a perspective of whether it's true, like that last comment of he felt it was a strategy to get him late so he can go to the top clubs. Whether that's true or not, I respect his honesty just giving his opinion like that. Very rarely does a player speak so candidly about their opinion in their situation of what has happened. Now, in regards to the whole situation, this is rugby league, man. It's just a ruthless business. You hear him talk about it, and it's hard not to feel sorry for Terrell May because he didn't do anything wrong. They just re-signed him. He was playing good footy, and there's a clear, I think sometimes we do forget these are young men that when you do go to a club, you buy all the way in. It's not just a job to you. You buy all the way in and you believe in the culture, you believe in the team, you believe in the coaching staff, their family, they're like brothers to you. And then to be told you're no longer wanted, I can understand why Terrell May is he seems quite disappointed by it. And it sucks, man. It really does suck. And what I hope for Terrell May, and he did speak about this a little bit further on in the podcast, but he turns this really negative situation into a huge positive, and he comes out and fulfills his potential and gets even better. But, really, really, really harsh from the Roosters, in my opinion.
Yeah, first of all, I listened to the podcast this morning. Worth going and listening to the whole thing. It's really, really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, mate. Like, I would love to, and I know we never will, but I'd love to hear Trent Robinson's side of this and hear the Roosters' perspective, because we are only hearing one side of it. And, from what Terrell's telling us, it does sound like it was a little bit rough. And I agree with you. Like, God, he played some good footy last year. And when Jared walks out the door and they're, to me, I look at their middles now and I am a little bit concerned without Terrell May. But, yeah, I would love to hear both sides of this story to get everything.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Timmy?
As Guru said, two sides to every story. And I'm just good on Terrell May for getting on the front foot and actually speaking about it. But we're only hearing that. I just look at it and I go, these are the Sydney Roosters, one of the most professional organisations in Australian sport, who notoriously just handle everything so well. And the optics of it are that you've got this up-and-coming front row forward, one of the best in the game in our opinion, and he'd re-signed, and then all of a sudden he's brushed, he's not in their plans, and Trent Robinson, arguably the smartest coach in the NRL, says, we don't need you, you're not part of our plans. Something doesn't add up. What do you...
And Robinson has come out, can you please find the quote, Matty, and said, Terrell hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah. No, not saying he had, but I'm just even from a football perspective, for whatever reason, not part of the plans. I don't understand it, because he's such a supreme talent. I think could be the best front row in the game the next couple of years, or near enough. Certainly sort of top five. So many things don't add up to.
Can you get the quote, please, Matty?
And I think, for me, a little bit more could add up if Ben Hunt was a Rooster right now. When Ben Hunt didn't sign, when he was released, I straight away just thought, okay, Ben Hunt must be a Rooster now. Must be how it's playing out. And I look at their...
Well, there's a world where that they could have done it to try to get Ben Hunt, and Ben Hunt played them.
Yeah, but
not played him, but he didn't sign with them.
Yeah, but as he just said, the Roosters, they don't tend to get too many of these things wrong. So if that is how it's played out, it's a bit of a shocker by the Roosters.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Roosters, although they've done, they bungled the Angus Crichton re-signing with Dave Fafita.
Yep.
The Cheese one hasn't worked out as well as we had hoped. And so, we've spoken about this quite a bit on this podcast, and not to put words in your boys' mouths, but this round of recruitment, I don't think has gone as well to plan as they would have hoped. Now, granted, they have re-signed Sam Walker. I'm not suggesting to Roosters fans that everything has been bad, but usually they nail. If there's 10 things to nail, they nail 9.5 of them.
Yep.
I think this time around, they've probably nailed 6 of them. And there's 4 of them that just hasn't really worked out. Have you got anything there, Matty?
They got Reece Robson.
We'll get to that.
Okay. We'll get it. But yeah, it feels very strange to me, because as I've said on here a couple of times, I think he was their best front rower last year, and they're obviously losing a couple, Jared Warrior-Hargraves and all that sort of stuff. He could have been a bloke that took over and led the pack a little bit there. So strange one, but hey, I'm loving it. We've got him, so I can't complain too much at the Tigers. But,
huge result for the Tigers.
Exactly.
They're the winners.
Yeah, but I just it's interesting comments by Terrell. He obviously
he's the quote. Here's the quote from Robinson. He's not a bad character. He hasn't done anything wrong. I think that that has been unfairly thrown out there. Instead, the coach has insisted the decision was made with their future playing style at the forefront of his mind. And then he said he was evaluated for our group, but there's just some small bits there around how we want to play. We felt like it was time to move in a different direction, expressed that to Terrell. But the difficult thing is that people have questioned his character, and that shouldn't be the case. May's moved to the top, blah, blah, blah. Then Trent Robinson. Terrell is a really good player. That's why I played him so many games this year. But it does give opportunity for some guys underneath to play more. It genuinely could be as simple as he's just gone what Robinson has said. He doesn't fit the style of rugby league we want to play.
I'm so curious as to how.
What's that style?
How does he not fit their style? I wonder what again, not suggesting he's done anything wrong, because he obviously hasn't.
Well, I think you look at as well the Chiefs situation, and you go, he hasn't really suited their style of play. And so, maybe there is a case of he's looking at the Bulldogs, for example, and the Bulldogs is this small, mobile pack. And look, I don't agree with it. I think Terrell May is a bloody good front rower. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, trying to get in Trent Robinson's head and go, okay, when you say he doesn't suit your style of play, that would, if I had to put 2 and 2 together, does that mean you want a more mobile pack? Does that mean you want smaller forwards that can. That's the only thing that makes sense in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he's a bloody good forward, but yeah, it's just a ruthless. It's a ruthless part of rugby league. It's a ruthless part of rugby league, and like the thing that's like, having played NRL, like this kind of stuff happens. I wouldn't say regularly, but it happens enough where I'm not shocked that someone just got moved on for not doing anything wrong, playing okay footy, but just not suiting what the coach wants. The problem is that like that's a human being. Like that's it's easy for us outside looking in and go, oh, that's part of rugby league, but mate. He's bled for that club. He's worked his backside off for that club, and just to get cold 6 months after you've re-signed, or less, 3 months after you've re-signed, oh no, you're not part of the club anymore. Like,
and not even due to like a form regression or anything. Like he's at his peak in his career at the moment. Like he's phenomenal.
Like I respect him so much for what he's come out and said here. He's been completely honest. Is there a rule where Terrell May's maybe just been a bit too honest over the last few months? Like the quotes during the finals about, sometimes I just don't want to play anymore and whatnot. Like, has that maybe ticked the Roosters off to some extent? Like, sometimes I just I don't want to be there and I don't want to play. Like, is it too honest? Do the Roosters not like that look of their star players?
Surely they're emotionally intelligent enough to know that every player goes through that. Like every player goes through what Terrell May is talking about, where in their head they think, I don't want to. The only thing that makes sense to me is genuinely he's a big forward, and maybe there's a game style that they want to change.
Mobile though, like,
I'm being devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I don't agree with it.
I'm just trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that he can't suit that style of play. I'm just saying like if you're talking about style of play, maybe it is that big hulking forward that
because they've got Collins, they've got Lenu, they've got a couple of big ones already.
They've got big boppers.
Yeah, but I guess they've just lost JWH. They're still going to need a couple of them, but maybe you're right. They just want a different style. Anyway, it's suit our style.
Yeah, it's a great get for the Tigers. Holy, and like as I think we all kind of agree. I appreciate Terrell May's honesty. Like you don't get that kind of insight. You really don't.
What do I say about NRL players? And they're so like
robotic and that. Yeah,
I'm enjoying his day in the life vlog sort of stuff too. Like I'm enjoying. You don't get too many players that are as open and as honest and give you as much access as he does. I think
he did. Good. He spoke about as well on the podcast how he struggled to fit into the like eastern suburbs culture, and I thought that was a really interesting takeaway of just being candid about the fact that he's not from there and things are different where he's from out west, and he wasn't going to change who he was, but he did try to buy in all the way, and like that's a very normal thing for a young, like I'll just talk from my perspective, like coming from soccer to rugby league, like it was tough. Like the culture shock from the two sports was like night and day. It couldn't be any more different. And so that's another factor that Terrell May talked about, how that was a bit tough for him to fit into that eastern suburbs culture.
I thought he actually articulated that very well.
Yeah. And to be clear, guys, make sure you go and listen to it. He wasn't having a crack at the eastern suburbs culture. He wasn't sitting there going, they're all snobs. Not at all. All he was trying to say is I'm from somewhere different.
Yep.
Just like if an eastern suburbs person went out to western suburbs, initially you'd be like, this is a bit of a culture shock. When you move from Queensland to Sydney, it's a massive culture shock. It just shows you, like, when, sometimes players, and I get it that players aren't perfect, they stuff things around too, but like when you start talking about loyalty and all that stuff, like, and then you hear stories like this, it's just like, geez, it's tough to swallow sometimes. However, the only problem is that you do need loyalty. You need to believe in something more than just a paycheck to win a premiership. Like, do you think the Penrith Panthers are so successful because they're all just turning up going, I get paid good money to do this? No, they go because they believe in the vision. They believe in something more. They believe in the jersey. And that's what makes rugby league such a unique, and sport in general, is that people always go, it's just a business. But it's not. You're going out there and bleeding for people that they're your brothers at the time. And that's why it makes it so dramatic when things like this happen, because you're not just leaving the workplace, you're leaving a workplace with people that you literally bleed with. It's such a unique spectacle. So, as I said, I hope this is the end of it though. Like I hope it doesn't get ugly and there's back and forth or whatever. Because I think that Terrell May at the Tigers, they're going to need him to have a massive, massive year.
And it sounds like, there was a heap of other quotes in there about him wanting to be the alpha and wanting to be the guy. And as a Tigers fan, I would love to hear that, because I feel like you haven't really had that guy over the last few years.
Yeah, correct. And like we've lost the guy that we were hoping was going to be that guy, Stefano. So yeah, we've needed someone who is, a big alpha, plays the way he does. Great fit. Very, very good signing.
Yeah. Great interview and just super candid. And whether, as I said, guys, whether you agree or disagree or whether it's true or not, and this is just his opinion on certain things. The good thing is he's being honest, So you can't knock a bloke when players always get knocked for being robots. You can't also knock him just because you disagree with something that he said. At least he's being candid. Now, to speak more about the Roosters, we've been speaking about this for quite a while. It is too quiet at the Roosters. Something big is coming. Now, crazy thing is I don't think they're done. And we'll get more into that later on. Reece Robson signs with the Roosters. The Cowboys put out a press release on Friday afternoon confirming that Reece Robson would be leaving the club. The Roosters confirmed an hour or so later they'd be signing Robson on a 4-year deal. Meanwhile, the Roosters have also re-signed James Tedesco. We'll get into that. What a massive signing. The Roosters have just signed the current New South Wales hooker. And I think it's probably not going to get the hype that you would get with another player because Reece Robson's up in North Queensland. So his profile's not that big. He's not at a Sydney club. He's not in the headlines all the time. This is a mammoth signing. You're getting the New South Wales hooker that was just a part of the Australian squad and is essentially the hooker behind Harry Grant at the club for 4 years in the peak of their career. This is a mammoth signing for the Roosters, in my opinion. Root?
Yeah, I love this one. I've sort of been a little bit surprised. I've seen I had a lot of people message me, sort of they think Reece Robson's a little bit overrated and whatnot. I don't see it. It's
because he's up North Queensland.
It must be, right?
It is, 100%.
He's
the current New South Wales hooker. He's one of the best players of the series.
Yeah, he's tough as nails. Defensively, he's fantastic. And in that Origin series, people say, it was all the halves and everything. He saved 2 or 3 tries for that Origin
Go back,
series,
watch game 1.
moments.
Tell me he wasn't unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. I love him. He's great defensively, big motor. He can ball play. He just ticks all the boxes.
Could play lock at a pinch.
It must just be a North Queensland thing. It has to be.
Oh, I think it's a profile thing. I think that, put it this way, let's say, I'm trying to think of there are hookers that aren't aren't the current New South Wales or Queensland hooker that probably have bigger profiles than him. That would be a big deal. But because he's up in North Queensland, he doesn't have a big profile, I think it's a huge signing.
And I think as well, Harry Grant sort of skews the hooker market because he is so unique. And before that, it was even more unique with Cam Smith in that it wasn't the highlights, it was just the death by 1,000 cuts things. But I look at Reece Robson and realistically, in my opinion, the Roosters haven't really had a 9 since Jake Friend. Brandon Smith has gone up there. I've always thought Brandon Smith was better utilised as a middle, as a momentum guy. He's got better at 9, but I think it's been pretty evident it hasn't really worked. I just can't see this not working for them.
Well, he's Jake Friend 2.0. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, the biggest thing about it, you boys summed up well, he's so well-rounded as a footballer, but he's so durable. He's played 23-plus games in the last 4 seasons.
Yep.
It is such a key cog in the spine, the number 9. And as you mentioned, Rue, they've struggled for that number 9 in recent years since, Sammy Verrills, obviously the premiership, what was that, 2019. They've just struggled to find it. I'm with you. I think Cheese, we're seeing, he almost feels like he's better as a 13, like a lock, and can obviously play number 9 very well, but great durability, great footballer. I think he's a fantastic signing for them.
What's crazy about this too is the whispers of this only started about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Before that, it was radio silent. And it was almost like, holy shit, Reece Robson's still off contract for 26. It's a bloody... I love this sign.
And you look at the importance of the 9 to a team, and Mitch Kenny's such a great example at the Panthers because not a superstar, just does his role well. They've won 4 premierships in a row. And you've got Sonny Luke, who's a terrific runner, a great ball player, very creative number 9. But when he went in there, it just didn't work for them. Reece Robson is just so consistent.
Yep.
He'll fit into any spine in the NRL and do a job.
Well, he's like Jake Friend 2.0. Me personally, I see him have all the toughness that Jake Friend had, but probably a better skill set because he's the current New South Wales, starting hooker, whereas Jake Friend took a while to get that spot. Granted, it was a little bit different because he was behind a guy like Cam Smith.
Isn't it when you look back at the Dragons, the decision they had to make years ago, they had him and Cam McInnes on the books. Cam McInnes was the 9 at the time. I think a lot of us agreed Cam McInnes was going to be a 13 eventually. They let Reece Robson go. He goes on to be the New South Wales hooker. Cam McInnes literally goes to their arch nemesis next door, turns into a 13. Dragons are left without both of them.
Mental. Like that.
Crazy when you look back on it, how it all, Now he's at the fucking Roosters of all places. You'll see him on Anzac Day.
Yeah. Hammy?
Great signing.
Yeah.
Really good. I think you're right what you're saying, though. It feels like tip of the iceberg. Doesn't feel like this, like it's a great get, but it doesn't feel like the big one that they're setting up for maybe. And, you know, what exactly that is, I'm not sure. But I still don't think... So he's there in 2026. So we're expecting... By that time, there'll be another big fish.
I reckon we'll get to it eventually, but I reckon November 1's going to be absolute carnage. But we'll get to that eventually.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No. Great signing.
Yep.
Well done to the...
What do you reckon as a arch nemesis?
Not at all surprised that the Roosters got him. Like, as soon as the Cowboys released that statement, everyone kind of knew. I think he's perfect for him. I think he's pretty much exactly what they need. I think they've absolutely nailed it.
Like, they're going to be rolling to a spine with him and Sam Walker for the next 5 years together.
Do we see Cheese moving on from the Roosters or making that shift to sort of the 13 role?
I don't think. I think he's gone. I think they're all the whispers that were going out and, you know, releasing him early and swaps and trades.
Especially with how good Connor Watson is at 13. He needs big minutes.
Yeah. And the Cheese signing never felt right for me. And that has no reflection on his ability or the Roosters' ability. I just didn't think they needed him. Like, they've got... at the time when they signed him, they had Manu, Teddy, they had Victor Radley. Like, they had so many strong ball runners. I was like, where do you find the time in a set to give Cheese the opportunity to do what he needs to do?
He's a creative number 9. He makes things happen. Not every club needs that. The Roosters have so much firepower. Teddy, Sammy Walker, all these blokes, they don't need it.
Yeah, and I thought that when they signed him, I was like, okay, and this actually goes to my point with Trent Robson in regards to style of play. I thought that he was going to go, with these rule changes, basically, don't get me wrong, you'll still spread the ball, but I just want the best ball runners possible around the ruck. And so I thought Robinson was going all into that, like the best ball running 9, the best ball running fullback, great ball runner in Sam Walker, Joey Manu, also a great ball runner. And so I just thought he would just constantly flood the middle. And you can go back and watch the podcast where we speak about it. But what happened was, and people forget this, is when they made that signings, the rules shifted a bit back to what we used to be, and they started making it so in your own 40, you would kick out for touch, and the 6 against got reduced. And so we all remember that year of 2021 where Tommy Turbo had all those points. All those points records got broken because the game was like completely just like almost like touch footy. And I think, if I recall correctly, it was around the time that he signed Brandon Smith. And so I think Trent Robinson looked at that and said, holy shit, this is the direction that the game is heading, where it's just like fast as anything. And that's why you would want a hooker like Brandon Smith, because you want a ball-running hooker. And then when the rules got changed back, all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, actually, that ball-running hooker is... It actually coincided with Api Koroisau going to the Tigers and Mitch Kenny going to the Panthers, which goes to my next point, is that Api Koroisau is a better hooker than Mitch Kenny on paper. However, Mitch Kenny suits currently what the Panthers need more than Api Koroisau right now. Because I look at the and don't get me wrong, Api Koroisau has the skill set to adjust, but Api Koroisau playing his version of footy actually would take away from Luai and Cleary right now. He would have to change the way he plays to make sure Cleary gets the ball. And that's when I look at the Brandon Smith situation. I go to Sam Walker, and a couple of years ago, Sam Walker wasn't ready to take the team by the scruff of the neck and say, this is my footy team. But he is ready now. And then I look at a guy like Brandon Smith and I go, well, you don't want Brandon Smith just shoveling the ball off the deck to Sam Walker all day long. It's a waste of a ball runner. Whereas a guy like Reece Robson, he's going to give you 9 to 10 out of 10 service, and he's going to give you probably the best defensive number 9 in the game.
Yep.
Like that's what you need. It's a great signing. And I think it's Robbo looking at the way the game has kind of swung a little bit back and gone, this is the number 9 I need. That's more similar to Jake Friend rather than a ball running one.
I think now it'll be really interesting to see who they find as their long-term 6. I think Sam Walker's such a unique 7 that you can't just go and buy a good 6. You need to go and find the right 6 for him. And I'm so intrigued to see who. Well, it might be Sandon Smith. I don't know, but
I'd be going to getting a big ball running 6.
Yeah, that's like
just
I
think it would be shocking fit. It would be Lockie Galvin for them. I just don't think it would work.
You know who does suit it the most? And look, I'm not settle down, Parrot Eels fans. I'm not saying this is going to happen. It's Dylan Brown.
Yeah.
Great call. I reckon Dylan Brown like fantastic.
Dylan Brown, Sam Walker, Reece Robson together would be nightmare fuel. Like genuine nightmare fuel. If Jackie Whiten worked on his kicking game a little bit, Jackie Whiten, obviously he'd be retired by that stage. But like that style of 6, I think suits Sam Walker because you don't need a 6 that's going to do the ball play, all the creativity and everything. That's Sam Walker's job. You just need a big body that's going to threaten every time.
It's happy to play second fiddle.
Yeah, happy to play fiddle.
It has to be Sam Walker's team. He's the chief playmaker.
Yeah.
That suits his style. Who's going to be the foil to him?
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't play second fiddle to him, but if you could like reincarnate Brad Fittler and put him outside Sam Walker, that'd be a scary, scary prospect.
And just confirming, Dylan Brown has player options for the
Yes,
next.
he does.
6
Again,
meetings.
Eels fans, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just talking about like who would suit Sam Walker because there has been whispers around the Mitch Moses one, and I do believe Mitch Moses is like he could be a good 6 because he's such a strong ball runner. But then when you look at like age and everything and all that and style with Sam Walker, I just worry that Mitchell Moses might be a bit too dominant to partner Sam
I think
Walker.
that'd be a big mistake. Sure.
Yeah.
You go one or the other.
Yeah, you'd have to
Sure,
go.
Walker.
Yeah, so the only other option is you go, okay, so we're all done with Reece Robson? All done?
Yep.
Okay, so James Tedesco has signed a 1-year deal. Now, what strikes me so much about this one is that James Tedesco just came off a nearly Dally M winning season. He's only going to sign a 1-year deal? You telling me he couldn't have got a 2 or 3 year deal somewhere else? That says to me something's brewing there because why would you only sign James Tedesco for 1 year? November 1, 2025, it's going to be carnage in my opinion.
Yeah, it is going to be an absolute mess, and I can't wait for it. It is going to be unreal. Not from a Roosters point of view, just from a rugby league point of view. It's going to be sensational, and I don't know who's safe.
Because like, why would you sign him on a 1 year
Exactly
deal?
right. After if you sign him on a 1 year deal the year before, I could make sense of it. After the season he had and how well he went and how good he looked, and it's the first year you've seen him without the burden of origin and everything, and he looked fantastic. He's not going to have that burden anymore. 1 year's
Well, on paper, he was technically the best fullback in the NRL this year. Like, you take away rep and everything and all that stuff, and you just go, you forget everyone's names, and you just go, who played the best at fullback across the whole year at fullback in NRL? It was probably James Tedesco.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we think's brewing, boys?
I'm not saying
Who do
anything,
we
man.
think?
I'm not saying anything.
I know
bro.
Guru's chomping at the bit to drop the KP line.
I just always think it lines up, but the Dill Brown thing's a very good shout as well. It's so fitting, but I just can't see the Roosters going through what they're going through right now with the players they're missing and the holes they've got, and then not arriving in 26 without 2 more guns in their spine.
So KP is signed till 27. So that means that if they were to sign KP, because there's no way Knights are going to let him go, unless Roosters do some magic stuff. You know what's funny is I spoke about the KB situation, and I said before the whole thing, like, this is speculation. The definition of speculation is there's no facts to back it up. You're just looking at the tea leaves and going, maybe this could happen, maybe that happen. Anyway, bloody Yahoo picked it up. And like, so people think that I'm like saying they're going to sign KP. So I'm just trying to be real,
Yahoo Kemp.
Yahoo. So I'm just like, I'm trying to stay away from that as much as possible because I don't want people coming up to me when all I'm doing is just like going, okay, this might happen or this might not happen. The thing with the KP is like, he doesn't come off contract, so he could not arrive until 28. I guess that's the biggest knock on it. And I know the Roosters can do work magic.
Yeah, and that's the whole, it's on paper, sure, but shit happens in rugby league.
Yeah.
Shit's happened in rugby league forever, especially in Bondi. Like,
They go, hey, you can have James Tedesco, who's still an elite fullback, probably top 2 or 3 in the comp, and someone else, and then we'll have KP.
Oh.
They could make it work somehow.
bloody oath they could make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, I just see. Look, I don't know, and we're all not saying it's going to definitely be KP. So I don't know who it's going to be. Just the fact that they signed him on 1 year, something's
brewing.
Yeah, something is brewing here. Why would you sign the current best form fullback in the competition for 1 year, especially when like Tedesco and the Roosters have such a strong relationship? The fact that it shows you how strong their relationship is that he signed a 1 year deal. But let's say they said, okay, we'll sign you on a 2 or 3 year deal. And then his form dipped dramatically. If they gave Tedesco the tap on the shoulder in 2 years' time, he'd pack it up. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like they have a relationship where he's like, nah, I'm getting my money. I'm going to stay and stick it out. Like, he would go, okay, like, we've got such a strong, tight-knit relationship. I'm not willing to burn that for an extra year or two. So I guess who else really is out there? Now, there's been whispers, and again, guys, relax. There's been whispers that the Tigers have opened negotiations with Lockie Galvin.
Yeah, off the back of the Bateman. Just pat out there. Yeah, I just, as I said before, I just think he wouldn't be a great fit at the Roosters. So yeah, hopefully we can.
I do find it interesting though that they extended him last year.
Yeah.
And they're already beginning negotiations again before balls kicked.
Yep.
And I do think they're looking at this situation going, we can't even allow that to even get close to happening.
Yep.
We've been
But
here before.
Yeah.
But as you revealed exclusively, Dylan Brown's going to the Roosters. That's fine. That's a sure thing. So this will be fine. No, we got to shore him up and lock him up.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that we are going to be able to do that. I think it's an exciting time. They've got some good players that have just come to the Tigers. Jerome Luai's come as well. I think surely the club is on the up. And as he said on your podcast, the words of Joey ringing in his ears saying, sure, you can go to probably any club. You're probably going to have your pick of a lot of really good clubs when the time comes for a contract negotiation. You could do that and, have success somewhere like that. Or you could cement your legacy as like an all-time great by taking a team who's really struggled, 3 spoons in a row, taking them from where they are to hopefully success down the line. And he said that kind of really resonated with him. So I'm hopeful that is still the case when having these contract chats because, there's no denying, like, if you can take a team from the bottom to the top and get some success there, like, that for me is a lot more impressive than just going somewhere that's always had success and winning there.
I think it's really smart from the Tigers. Like, I know people go, hang on a sec, like, how many times have clubs been burnt by signing these young fellas on these long-term deals? But you look at the Tigers, and I think that the Tigers are looking across at the Roosters and going, holy shit, what's going on over there? Let's make sure our guy's locked in. I think it's smart from the Tigers. Because think about it like this. Let's say they signed him on, I don't know, they offered him $1 million from 26 to 7 or whatever. By that age, he'd be like 21, 22, maybe?
Yep.
If that. Are you telling me there isn't another club out there that wouldn't pick up, like, chip in, like, if the Tigers were going to chip in $400,000 and they would chip in $600,000, wouldn't pick up Lockie Galvin and trust their system? Like, if the Tigers in Lockie Galvin, it just wasn't working out and he wasn't playing good footy, there's so many other clubs that would go, I'm going to blame the Tigers system and not Lockie Galvin, and I'm going to trust our system to get the best out of him. It would not be hard to move Lockie Galvin on if it wasn't working out. And so I actually think it is super smart to try and lock him up right now because you're not going to be left with him on your books if it doesn't work out. That's the negative.
It will work out. Stay with the Tigers, Lockie.
Yeah.
Now, look what happens. We've seen this before, Lockie, if you're watching. James Tedesco got poached from the Tigers to go to the Roosters. Gets to the twilight of his career. They disrespect him. 1-year deals. Stay with the Tigers. We will look after you. Don't go anywhere. So I'm very happy with that.
I'm more talking about protection of, like, if there's Tigers fans out there going, don't extend him now because we've been burnt with young contracts before. What I'm saying is that the Tigers will be protected by the fact that he's still so young. Other clubs will pick him up.
It's a good point.
But I do think that I think it can work. What are your thoughts?
Well, the other one that I would throw in there that I think is going to be very interesting over the next 2 years is Adam Reynolds is going to retire at some point. There's always been chat around Sam Walker, the Brisbane Broncos, and in a year or two time, I think he comes off contract at the end of 27, which means he can negotiate November 1, 26. Like and I know Kobe Black's up there and whatnot, but if Brisbane are in a spot with Michael Maguire where they think they can win a comp now, I think that chat around Sam Walker will just start to grow again. And then all of a sudden you find the Roosters, we think they're sitting with money now. Like, imagine if they move Sam Walker and then all of a sudden you're going, okay, he's a Mitch Moses. Can you then build a side around Mitch Moses, which I love Sam Walker, but I personally think it's heaps easier to build a team around Mitch Moses than a Sam Walker.
He'd be 31 by that age, 31, 32. Mitchell Moses, I think.
He's 30 right now.
30 right now, so he's 32. 32. See, I reckon the Roosters have identified Sam Walker, but I do see what you're saying. Like, Mitchell Moses in that team is like a very scary prospect with that roster. But just back to the Lockie Galvin situation with the Tigers, what do you think, Timmy?
I think if they can extend him long term, I would be doing it in a heartbeat because he's probably getting close to. You'd go 800 to sort of not far off $1 million. Sure. It's like a potential thing.
Look how good he was last year, and they won the Spoon.
Yeah, like if they can go a long-term deal and get him for like 5 years extended, do it. Don't even consider, because as you said, every club is going to have their eyes on him and want him. If they can just lock him in and he's happy now, happy at the Tigers, lock him in.
What are your thoughts on the idea of, like, let's say it doesn't work out and he's not playing well? Do you agree or disagree that other clubs would be like, look, we'll trust our systems to get back out?
You summed it up well. It's like if it doesn't work out at the Tigers. something would have to go phenomenally wrong for him not to succeed in footy the next couple of years because he's such a supreme talent. We saw that at 18 years old. And you're right. If something doesn't work out footy-wise, another club will go, okay, it's the Tigers system.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And they'll, like, imagine Bellamy or imagine Trent Robbie going, we'll get the best out of him.
That's another scary thing. Is like you look at Munster. When's he signed till? And so there are just so many clubs right now that are looking at Lockie Galvin and saying I think he's 26, 27, and going, our key players are probably going to start looking at retirement around that time. So
Because you go like, he right now, like you'd extend him for, let's say, 5 years and you give him $1 million a year or something. Maybe that's a little bit overs at the moment. But in 1 to 2 years' time, salary cap, it's only going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
It could be 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million, potentially.
Yeah.
So if you can loan him for $1 million, just do it.
Yeah.
I'd be hesitant to do it if I was Galvin.
Oh, if you were Galvin.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Oh, come on, Roo.
No, for sure.
hungover.
But like
No,
he's got
I
the
get it.
world at his feet right now. He, as you said, the salary cap could go up. Even like the Jerome Luai stuff over the weekend. Like I agree with your comments 100% that they've come last the last 3 years in a row. They've got to sign someone. They've got a big fish like Jerome. You just hope it works out. But if I'm Galvin, I'm going, okay, so there's going to be a circus here for the next 4 years, working out whether Jerome stays, doesn't, whatever. Like, yeah, I'd be very hesitant to sign a long-term deal.
I guess the knockback is like, okay, if someone's offering you $5 million, you just never know what happens.
As an
in rugby.
18-year-old.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, I see that deal out. I'm 23
Yeah.
or 24. I do see the argument though of like, and apologies, Hammy. It's like, do you want to be stuck at a club that continues to finish on the bottom of the table? And could you be robbing yourself of potentially winning a premiership at another club, taking a bit of a pay cut with the best years of your life where you're learning everything by signing that extension? So that's always the give and take. Like that's always the give and take with these big contracts and that. But I think, to the point that we all started with, I think it's super smart from the Tigers to just get in early and get it done.
Yeah.
Just get it done.
I think you got to look through the windscreen. They're like, yes, they've had 3 spoons in a row, but we've never signed like the New South Wales 5'8". We've never signed, one of the top 3 front rows in the game right now. In one off season, like you have to hope that we're going to, be on the trajectory. There's a lot of guys that he kind of came through with that got a lot of games into their system this year as well. So, yeah, they've been on the bottom now, but, I'm trying to remain optimistic. Like, surely we're going to be, on the improvement.
No, for sure. I think Richo will do it. Yeah. I think he'll be on the up. But it's still just a question. Yeah. It's still just a question.
And I also, it's not like you're just being optimistic for the sake of it. Like, you have made those signings.
Yeah.
You have improved a lot of things around the club, for sure.
Another thing that's not getting talked about that much, but like Royce Hunt and Terrell May, like that's a friggin' bloody good front row pairing. Like that's it. And then you got 12 coming off the bench.
And mate, if Jack Bird stays fit at 13, that's a game changer.
Yeah, Pole,
Yeah.
back.
Okay. So the Roosters situation, November 1, it's going to be carnage, absolute carnage. Now, in regards to the Luai situation, so let's talk about it. So it got released last week that Luai, the last 3 years of his deal, are player options in his favour, and each year he takes those options up. So each year he basically can go, I'll see how it goes, and then 12 months later, see how it goes, 12 months later, see how it goes. And like I know there's been, however, got this initially I was frustrated with this from the perspective of, I can't believe someone inside the Tigers is leaking this kind of stuff. Now, I don't know whether it was someone inside the Tigers or someone outside of the Tigers, so it's hard to be too frustrated at anyone specifically because you don't know who it is. But what I will say is anyone that's like giving crap to the Tigers, it's like, how else did you expect to get the Jerome Luai? He had just come off 3 premiership wins. He'd already won an Origin series. He'd led Samoa to a World Cup grand final. Now, he hadn't gone on to lead a team yet, and this is actually a massive rap to the Tigers. They saw it before everyone else saw it. Like, a lot of people were doubting whether he could be the 7. He proved that this year. But how else are you going to get a guy in the prime of his career at the best club in the competition to the club unless you're willing to concede some certain things? I think, similar to the Lockie Galvin where they're going early to extend him, I think this is smart business by Richo. You've got to take risks to get off the bottom of the table.
100%, and we've been saying it for ages. It's incredible who they've managed to sign for where they've been. And, okay, yeah, it makes a little bit more sense now. There's player options in there. But are you better off in round 1 not having Jerome Luai? Is Galvin better off not having an experienced 7 next to him? Like, the optics aren't great depending on how you want to decorate them and whatnot, but they're in a better spot with him there for however long he's there than not being there.
We've seen other clubs recently they're so conservative with their signings that you get to a new year and you're like, yeah, they've signed some guys, but this isn't moving the needle. Like, we'll just fight to not come last.
Yep.
Whereas with the Tigers, at least they're living by the sword, dying by the sword.
And if it goes to shit and Jerome's not happy, he doesn't want to be there, do you want him there for 1 point whatever million? I don't really see a huge problem with it.
I think that you got to take risks, get him to the club. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, and that's it. Like the Tigers, the reality is that they're rebuilding off the field. They've got a lot of things going on. So it's Jerome Luai himself. He's taking a risk by going to the Tigers. Obviously, he's getting a big pay packet and he's earned every dollar of that, but he's taking a chance by going to the West Tigers. So to add player options, and if that's what got him across the line, which there's every chance it did, mate, it works for both ends, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, a lot of players haven't wanted to come to the club or stay for the last however long. So they got him, so he's there. They probably had to concede a few things like that, as you said, just to make it so he doesn't feel like he's signed his life away or whatever. But if things go well and they improve and they get themselves to where they want to be, like the Bulldogs have this year with Crichton on board, why would you want to leave? Maybe, I've got every faith that if things go how you hope that they will, getting a guy like this to the club, he won't want to leave after 2 years. He'll want to stay and see, get some success there.
And that's it. If things are going well and they're winning games and he's rebuilding and all the going, he's not going to want to leave. So it's all good. If things aren't going well, as Rue alluded to, and they're losing games and he's not fitting in well, they probably don't want him anyway. Not saying it's going to get to that point, but I think it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's, again, the only way you're going to get off the bottom of the table and try and push to even close to a premiership is by taking risks. Yeah, if you're signing players just to not come last, it's just like it's the most boring thing ever. And when you look at Richo, the good thing is that in 4 or 5 years' time, it won't be this like weird situation where you don't know who's to blame for what's happened. And I say blame as in that could be positive as well. Like if the club turns around, everyone's going to be like, Richo's a genius. You're an absolute genius. You made all these tough decisions and it worked. If it doesn't work out, you can be like, Richo, you had all this leeway, you made all these decisions and it was wrong. And you can very clearly, and that's why I do like most of the leadership style of Richo is that he's very out there, but he's taking responsibility for these decisions that are making. He's not some CEO that's hiding and pointing fingers to people and saying, "Oh, it wasn't my fault; it was his fault. It's this fault." It's like, no, if they go really well, he'll get all the praise. If they go really poorly, he'll get all the criticism. But at least they're trying something.
I mean, he's a guy that's won 4 comps in a row. You'd have to go back to the 1960s to be able to sign a guy that's done that.
Yeah. It's genuinely
it's a unique
insane.
opportunity. You got to grab it with both hands. Yeah, you got to give a little in player options, but you got to get him there.
I'm sure we considered signing a few blokes from the 60s because no one else was coming.
He made the match-winning play in Origin and Suncorp that broke the 15-year drought or whatever.
Yeah, we've said it a million times, but even before he came into first grade, he won Toyota Cup, he won New South Wales Cup. He's a winner.
Yeah,
I haven't had one of those in a long time.
Yep.
At the very least, he's going to lift the standards at the club. When he walks in the locker room, people are going to listen. So yeah, I think it's a smart signing.
I even love when he was over in England, he did that video for the West Tigers.
Yeah.
And he, I'm coming here to win. And okay, sweet. You can say whatever you want, blah blah. But as I've been saying for years, this guy says a lot and he backs everything the fuck up.
Yep, absolutely.
He doesn't just say things and then leave it. Everything he says, he does.
Well,
when we got to chat to the Blues during our camp this year, we had a little hypothetical for some of the players. Would you rather win 3 Shields in a row or a club premiership? And of course, because he's already won 3 premierships in a row, he said 3 Shields in a row. And I said, I'm a Tigers fan. That's a little bit disappointing to hear. And he just goes, we ain't done, bro. So it's coming.
I like that. Don't forget, guys, make sure to head to our YouTube, hit subscribe, but also go to our Spotify and hit follow. I think it's like a little plus button in Spotify or the subscribe button. Make sure to follow because we've got the video content on Spotify now, but also on YouTube. And also, we're going to be giving some prizes away when we hit 50K on YouTube. So we're nearly there. So hopefully when we do hit 50K, you'll be a part of the subscribers because the prizes will only be to the subscribers. So head to Spotify, subscribe. Takes you 2 seconds. It really helps the platform. And also head to YouTube, hit like and hit subscribe because, as I said, when we hit 50K, we're going to be doing some fun giveaways and it's only going to be for subscribers. It takes you literally 2 seconds to do. Alrighty, what is next for Brandon Smith? The cheese. And don't forget, guys, Grumpy Coffee mugs now available at grumpycoffee.com.au. And obviously, Bloke undies are now available, and I'm telling you, at least to my knowledge, this is the highest quality you can make. We took ages finding the best material. This material is better than bamboo. really, really high quality undies. You will not be disappointed with these. I guarantee you, once you try these on, you will not be disappointed. Okay, what is next for Brandon Smith? The Daily Telegraph are reporting there are at least 2 clubs that have reached out to Smith's management for 26 and beyond. Where will he be playing in 2026? I'm a bit surprised that there's even been this kind of like illusion that there wouldn't be interest in Brandon Smith. Like, I don't know, sometimes I read some articles and it's like there's almost this opinion of like, will he be able to get a club? It's like, guys, he played well for the Roosters this year. Like, he was good. And also, like, he's a friggin' unbelievable. Like, you look at the Melbourne Storm, and I still stand by it. Since that grand final, up until this year, they struggled to find a replacement to give the momentum that Brandon Smith gave them when they made that grand final in 2020 and won it. It took them 2 or 3 years to genuinely mould their forward pack, because that was always, don't get me wrong, you look at their bench for that grand final, it was phenomenal. But you go back to that year, and Melbourne Storm relied not solely, but a lot on Brandon Smith coming on and changing momentum or making a big play. And so to suggest that a guy like that isn't going to be able to find a club. Now, will he sign for a mammoth deal this time around? I reckon he'd probably land what do you reckon, 6 or 700K at another club?
Yeah.
So it might be a little bit less than what he's on now. Mate, he still has so much to offer a team. I think that if he's fully committed and he's all in at the club that he arrives at, he'll be one of their best players. That's how much faith I have that Brandon Smith, if he is fully committed to being a bloody good player at wherever he lands.
I just think wherever he lands, you have to sign him to play a specific role. And for me, I don't think that's a big minute hooker. Just having a look back, and I've always said this, he won Dally M Hooker of the Year in 2021, right? He averaged 60 minutes that season. How many minutes do you reckon Harry Grant averaged that season?
30?
59.
Wow. So
Brandon
he's playing
Smith
most
is Dally M Hooker of the Year. I mean, the writing's been on the wall for quite some time. I don't think he's a bad hooker, but I think he's a better momentum guy. Melbourne have missed him as a momentum guy.
I'll throw it out there. He might be the best momentum guy in the competition.
Yeah, and it's... I've always said, if you go back and watch from that 2020 grand final, they did like one of those things with Fox League where they took Craig Bellamy and a few players and they sat in a theatre and they watched the match replay, and you see every time Brandon Smith subbed on, or he'd get up, he'd go, here comes another 2 points. They'd get momentum, they'd take... You just see Craig Bellamy just sitting going, shut the fuck up. But that's the sort of character he is, and that's what he brings to the game. And I think the Roosters have made a mistake by just using him as a 9. I look at Parramatta right now, they can't sort out their hooker spot. They got decent guys there. I would love to sign Brandon Smith and play him at hooker for the first 25 minutes, get through the tough shit, take him off for a spell, then put him on for the second half as a middle forward and just go nuts. And I think that's how you have to utilise him. I think he'd work at South Sydney in that sort of role, Parramatta like that role. There's not many gun hookers in this competition. If you get him, you can run with a 2-prong hooker attack, but you also get the best momentum guy in rugby league. And I have never understood why the Roosters haven't utilised him like that.
There are a lot of potential landing grounds, isn't there?
Yeah, heaps.
The Eels, if Jaden Brayley were to leave the Knights, potentially there. The Warriors, obviously got Wade Egan there, but a lot of injuries to him.
Warriors, Tohu Harris, he's probably last year or two. Throw him at 13.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Broncos have no salary cap, but if you were to move Paddy into front row, put him at 13.
Football-wise, he's a dream fit for the Raiders, I feel.
Yeah,
in footy
I agree.
constantly. We need a 9. We need an attacking number 9. Culture-wise, how would Cheese go in Canberra? I don't know if that's
it'd be either, it'd be incredible or it'd be terrible.
Cheese in Parliament. Canberra. Cheese for PM.
Football-wise, though, he'd fit the Raiders, but there are a number of clubs who could use him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he'd be a good fit for the Raiders too.
The problem is the Raiders came out.
They came out and said they don't want
Yeah.
not interested, which was very, it's just almost unnecessary, but it sends a strong message to their current players.
Yeah. I just feel like if a player that good wants to go, because they're another club that generally.
I think they're doing that too. It's actually not for the public. It's for the current playing roster to say we're back in the years. We're not recruiting anyone.
Yep.
Whereas,
love it.
as a Canberra fan, if you're not going to get him, because the thing that I forget about all the time, but whenever you see all these headlines about your club recruiting, you've got a whole playing squad sitting there going,
Yeah.
sweet. Oh yeah, no worries. I'll just fucking rip my body apart, and you're publicly chasing all these players. So even though if you're looking at it from a Cheese perspective, you're like, hey man, like I didn't need that. But from a Raiders perspective, you'd be like, oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Where else do you reckon he could land?
Maybe like the Titans was another area I thought maybe. he
Oh,
could
the Gold
potentially
Coast.
go. I mean, the Gold Coast.
So Cheese on the Gold Coast.
Probably not a great
He'd
mix.
get lost on the Burley Hill Bermuda Triangle. Like,
Yeah.
you'd never see him again.
But in terms of, they probably, could use a bit of, they need to probably, they've got Verrills there, I suppose, but I don't know, when I was looking at kind of teams that might be able to use what he brings, they were another one. But, I don't mind kind of like Rouge out there of maybe that, hooker at the start, then basically what he's always done.
See,
anyway.
I'd nearly go as far as signing him as a front row /13 that can play hooker.
Yeah, yep.
Like a genuine, because like you look at the modern game, and we've talked about how that mobile front rower, how good is the Bulldogs, this, that, and the next thing. Like, who is the one guy that suits this like nuggety front rower? Like, look at Ruben Cotter, how he has just exploded. Like, I'd go as far to go like, geez, don't he? Like, we'll have you there just in case. Like, he's the kind of guy that you probably don't want to play 80 minutes. However, if you could just chuck him in, if you've got a really good hooker that can play 80 minutes, but you'd rather him not, so that he can just go in for 10 minutes, there's a lot of value there, so you don't have to carry a hooker on the bench. You can just chuck Cheese in there and then have more forwards on the bench.
And I agree with you completely. The only thing that I like about him playing 9 for the first 20 is that it means you don't have to carry another 9 on your bench then. Like it means that you get a utility along with having an extra forward who's an absolute gun. So that's the perspective I look at. And if I was a club that needed a 9, like I needed a proper 9, like I would be happy to do that with him, because then you have to find another guy to fill that role just for 50, 60 minutes. And I think that's an easier balance to find.
I'm trying to think, like, could you work your recruitment out where you have a guy that usually plays 80, like let's just say you sign with the Sharks, just use it that way, and you don't want Brayley playing 80 every week, even though he can. And so what you do is that you just put Cheese in there for 10 minutes of his game time, but then the rest of the time he's playing, he plays 60 minutes, but the rest of for 50 of it, he plays in the forwards, and then for 10 minutes he plays at 9. Could you find that way to not have to carry an extra 14 on the bench?
Yeah, and it might not be every week. It might be a week-to-week thing with a Blake Bailey, for example. But and Blake Bailey's an interesting one because he's one of 4 or 5 hookers in the comp. You're confident can play 80 every week.
And he's the I actually think even a guy like Reed Marnie, I think he gets tired towards the back end of the year, and he tries too hard. I think even Reece Robson, I would like to get him that 70 minutes.
Yeah.
Blake Brayley's this really unique one where because he doesn't have that explosive side that say a Reece Robson has, he seems to just churn out the minutes. It doesn't really affect him negatively. I can't believe I'm forgetting it, but there was actually a coach just recently talking about an 80-minute hooker they had. Oh, sorry, it was Flanagan, and he was talking about how he doesn't want Little playing 80 minutes, even though he could, because at the back end of the year he falls off a little bit. And so I wonder.
That's why I love that Damien Cook signing.
Yeah.
I think they'll do the exact same thing. You mentioned the Warriors before. Like, if I'm the Warriors, sign him as a middle forward. Like, with all due respect to Wade Egan, can find an injury, can find HIA. Instead of having to carry a Lussick or someone on the bench, carry Brandon Smith.
Oh, it's perfect. Oh man, him at the Warriors with Fish to keep him in line too, because there's one. I think the good thing about with Cheese, you need, and not to suggest there isn't strong leadership at the Roosters, there is really strong leadership, but you need a leadership group that I think relates to Cheese and can understand where he's kind of coming from. And I reckon you look at the Warriors and you go, mate, if there's one bloke in the whole bloody NRL that Cheese would go, okay, I'm listening to you, it'd be the Fish.
And the other, pardon me, the other obvious fit there, the Cowboys played national youth competition there as well.
Didn't end very well though.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Like, in terms of, they've just lost Reece Robson for 2026. They don't have money. They need a number 9. However, I said I don't know what the relationship stands between them now, but could work.
Yep. Oh, just quickly for Cowboys fans, we haven't really talked about the impact on Cowboys with Reece Robson. I think it was purely he just wanted to get back to New South Wales. I'd be very surprised if the Cowboys lowballed him. Surely not.
I don't think so.
Surely not. I think it was genuinely one of those situations where the Cowboys were like, look, we've tried as hard as we can. We can either blow our salary cap to smithereens, or we just have to cop the fact that he's from New South Wales and he probably wants to be back in New South Wales. The problem is, though, finding another hooker of that standard, oh, man.
Yeah, and you'd have to think the Cowboys, from a salary cap point of view, they'd have to be in a decent spot, wouldn't they? Like, they're going to have so many young guys in their outside backs. Just lost Val, just lost Chad, just lost Kyle Feld, Granville. Like, they'd have to be sitting in an okay spot.
And I know Tamalolo's on $1 million, but, you're probably going to have to pay your front row $1 million these days anyway. Roughly, you look at Adam Fanor Blake, you look at Jesse Bromwich at the Dolphins would have been up around that. You've got You've got Fish at the Panthers would be around that.
Like, I think it is safe to assume he just wanted to get back to Sydney. It has to.
It has to be that. It has to be that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just bizarre.
Because I look at, then you could go, okay, Todd Payton, known as a tough kind of coach. Well, I doubt Reece Robson's shying away from the tough stuff. He would love that stuff. So I think that the Cowboys, I know that Cowboys fans would be frustrated with the Cowboys administration for not keeping him. But as much as I look at rugby league and read all the headlines and all that kind of stuff, the only thing that makes sense is he's from New South Wales and he wants to get home. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because, Cowboys have a roster to challenge for a premiership still, in my opinion. They've got a bloody good roster. It's not like, if anything, heading into next year, we'll probably all have Cowboys maybe above Roosters.
Yeah, they'll be
currently.
the same. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not like he's not like he's at a struggling club going to a club that's definitely going to kill it. It has to be just purely for going back to New South Wales. Now, just quickly on the Cowboys, though. I mean, even we're guilty of it. The Cowboys just lost a New South Wales rep player, and we didn't even speak about the impact on it.
Yeah.
That just shows you that whole idea that, up north. So, and I'm a Queenslander. The impact for New South Wales, for North Queensland, the frustrating thing for them is they got him from the Dragons, developed him into a New South Wales representative hooker, and he's the kind of guy that you would have him at the club assuming that he's going to be there for 10 years because, he's a key player that you've developed and all that. I know he's at the Dragons before, but he made his name in first grade, up at North Queensland. As we've seen many other clubs, it is tough finding a decent hooker, let alone the New South Wales hooker. What do you reckon the Cowboys need to do with this?
Just having a look through their squad, there really isn't another one in the top 30.
Because they would have built he doesn't miss any games.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's that curse. It's the Mitch Moses curse.
Yeah.
So durable that you almost he's just going to be there all the time.
Not to mention they turned Ruben Cotter into front row because of Reece Robson.
Yeah.
It's essentially Carl Lawton in that squad. Maybe there's guys below that, but there's no one jumping out to me off the top of the head. So they're going to have to go into the market somewhere. And as we just said, realistically, they're going to have to find 2 hookers to replace him.
So there are whispers. Blake Moser. People are starting to go, not from the Cowboys, but I mean, that's where you start wigging out if you're a Broncos fan because you start going, yes, we discussed this last week how, he's probably going to be targeted anyway, but just this added little extra pressure of Benny Hunt. Jock Madden has now been reportedly tapped on the shoulder that he can move on. And you all of a sudden go, oh shit, now that North Queensland have this war chest to go after a guy like Moser.
What a nightmare that would be for Broncos fans watching Din and Moser combined together. And that's where, we spoke about it last week. There's a jersey there that is 100% yours, Blake Moser, if you want it.
In a big contract.
Yeah, and you get to play with, some of the guys that are there. Tom Din in particular would be the biggest draw card for me. I look at the Cowboys, and as long as you've got Din and Drinkwater, you can see where the future is with them. You can see where they're going. I would even say you can see more so where they're going than the Roosters are potentially.
Well, even with Moser, the sell to him also is Dearden essentially has got that Queensland 6 jersey locked up. Whether it's a year or two after Munster retires or whatever, or who's to say that, Munster he doesn't outperform. I'd have Munster locked in there, but he was one of our best players for Australia. And so the selling point to Moser is, guess what helps you get picked for rep teams? If you're the number 9 for the 6 guy, for the 6 jersey. And so there's that stress now, pressure on the Broncos. Now, I do think the Broncos will keep him, but I'm just saying that's extra stress. What do you reckon, Timmy, in regards to recruitment?
Well, I think the other probably name that comes to mind is Jaden Brayley, who we mentioned earlier in the show. It's a pretty like-for-like replacement, all things considered, to Reece Robson. A big minute, number 9, obviously when fit and healthy. Tackling machine. Do we see that potentially playing out?
Yeah, and you'd get him for cheaper-ish.
It sounds like maybe not going to end up at the Knights long term.
Well, the Knights have come out apparently just recently and said they're not releasing him early, at the very least.
Yeah, and he's off contract, is it next year?
Next year, yeah.
So, there could be a fit.
And also, you wouldn't have to pay massive money for Brayley unless he kills it this year. Brings experience, which I actually think they probably need a little bit of experience.
I think it'd be great.
In the ruck.
I think whoever gets Jaden Brayley is probably going to get him on unders. I think it'd be a terrific sign wherever he lobs.
Surely the Eels are pushing hard for Brayley. I mean, I tell you what, if you're a hooker right now, you're sitting there laughing. What do you reckon, Hammy?
There's a couple of guys in the Broncos. Seems like they got heaps of hookers. You mentioned Moser, but Smoothie, Pakes. There's a couple of guys there, probably looking for a bit of an opportunity. Probably not top tier, but they could be floating around. Really feel great saying it, but there's a good hooker floating around at the Tigers, Talon Silva,
Yeah.
who missed out on a. They've obviously got Finu, who fills that 14 role. Either him or Finu kind of do that, but he's a guy who's going to want to get some game time in the next year or two, and he looks really good as well. So
He's an interesting one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Stuck behind Appy. It's like,
That's-
what's going to change?
It's tough because he is a 9.
Yeah.
You can't chuck him in 13. He's
Yeah.
a 9.
And Appy's such a unique character. Like, he could retire in a year. He could retire in 4 years. You just don't really know with him.
Yep.
Like, he's not slowing down anytime soon. However, you just don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it could be overnight kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to lose a guy like De Silva because he looks like a guy who could, kick on and play for like 10 years. But he's great, and he shouldn't be. He's a first grader, so there's maybe someone they look at as well. But big hole to fill. Reece Robson's been
Massive for
most
the Cowboys.
consistent hooker in the game, or second most consistent hooker in the game after Grant. So not going to be easy for him.
It's going to be interesting, the Cowboys. Like, they're going to start the 2026 season without him. And then all of a sudden, we're only 12 months away from Tamalolo's contract being over.
It's a tough one for the Cowboys because they would have been sitting there for most of the year going, we're building the club around Dearden, Cotter and Robson. Like, that's our big three. Like, the Melbourne Storm big three, that's our big three. I know it's a different, what they've done in the game. But I'm just saying, like, usually you've got a group of guys that you want to build a club around. All of a sudden, it's just been completely... And obviously Drinky, as well.
Yeah.
So you've got Cotter, Robson, Dearden and Drinky. And all of a sudden, Robson goes... It's a big loss, man.
And I'd argue, like, of all those positions, it's potentially the hardest to fill with one guy.
Especially right now when you look at... I know Dearden's probably at the peak of, all of those guys, but you just look at the Cowboys' Instagram recently. They got like 3 really good young halves that are all fighting for... They got, obviously, Clifford. They've got Duffy and Purdue as well.
Yep.
And all of them are vying for that spot. So they got plenty of depth. And then you look at the 9 role, they don't really have much depth at all.
And I mean, the big thing for me when I look at the Cowboys is, last year, like, I know you can score points. It's defensively I worry. And now Reece Robson leaving, it's a big concern.
Which is an argument. He's him or Mitch Kenny, best defence 9s in the comp. Probably him. It's a tough loss for Cowboys. Feel for Cowboys. But as I said, I know Cowboys fans will be frustrated at the Cowboys administration, but I truly believe this is a situation where it almost, no matter how much money within reason they threw at him, it seems like he wanted to get back to New South Wales. Yeah, I just come out of nowhere though. I put it this way: in the middle of the year, if you had said Reece Robson might be the one to go, I would have said, "Fucking no way, he's going to be there for 10 years."
I remember, like, when that story first sort of came out and he was in Australian camp, I almost feel stupid looking back on it because I just went, he's in Kangaroos camp.
Yeah.
They're just going to sort it out when he comes back. I didn't expect this at all.
Wow, feel for Cowboys. In saying that, up North Queensland, geez, they got some talent up there. Holy heckers. Alrighty. Hubble Hub brings together live and upcoming sport in one view, so you won't have to jump in and out of different apps to find where to watch your favourite sports this summer. Even better, Sport on Hubble Hub integrated into one easy-to-navigate interface across your favourite apps. And they have an amazing offer at the moment. When you buy Hubble Hub for $99, you can get Netflix and KO Sports for $25 a month for 12 months. That's $25 a month for 12 months. That's a savings of $7.99 a month for 12 months. It's sport and entertainment for less, plus it's super convenient. Buy now at hubble.com.au. That's hubbl.com.au. Big Johnny Bateman and South. The Daily Telegraph are reporting that Johnny Bateman is set to sign with South effective immediately. It also seems that Lewis Durd and Cody Walker will be halves for South. And Durd saying he's watched every Rabbitohs game twice since he signed to study their trends and how he can have an impact. Twice? Holy. Like that.
Season to watch twice.
Holy,
We had a
tough
bit
season.
of time off halfway through the season.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Can I, before we get into this, did you guys see the content the other day of Wayne Bennett?
Yeah.
Right? Do you think he knew Dodd or not?
Of course he knew Dodd. Yeah, it's the whole treat him mean, keep him keen.
What did he do?
Fine.
Did he just brush him?
Well, he's like, how you going, mate? What's your name, Lewis? And he's like, Lewis who? Dodd. And he's like, oh, you're that Pommy bloke, aren't you? You're just playing mind games. It's just the whole, it's a Wayne.
That's
a Wayne.
him?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Of course it is. That's just what he does. It's the whole, I mean, I hate to psychoanalyze because I don't have a degree in psychology, guys, but I think it's more of a just to make sure that he doesn't just expect that 7 jersey. Like, it's the whole earn my respect.
If there's any ego in him,
Yeah.
it's just knocked out in the space of one comment.
Exactly. Because, like, by all reports, it's this $700,000 contract. You signed to be a 7. The last thing you want is a $700,000 contract arriving going, that jersey's already mine. And so it's Wayne's way, speculation, guys, but it's Wayne's way of just going, boom, smash the ego to pieces. Mate, you got to earn the jersey here. Because, like, there's already reports that he's going to be the 7. So, and that would come from inside the club as well. But anyway, back to John Eyre. Look, I spoke about this with the whole Benji Marshall thing. Big John Eyre Bateman is a guy that it's a similar-ish to the Cheese situation where, like, you need a certain coach or senior playing group to keep them under wraps to a degree. And I think John Eyre Bateman, I just think under a rookie coach, even though Benji Marshall's one of the greatest players ever, all that stuff, under a rookie coach with a club that's trying to rebuild, I just don't know if he's got such big personality and character. I don't know if that's a fit. However, under Wayne Bennett, do you think Big John is answering back to Wayne?
Yeah, look, I was pretty open a few weeks ago. I said, if I was Manly, I wouldn't sign John Bateman. I didn't think it was a good fit. But under Wayne, it flips everything on its head.
Yeah, and certain players need super coaches to just get the best out of them. And so, if this is true, I love this signing. I think Wayne will know how to speak to him. I think that John Bateman's a big character. Wayne's a way bigger character. I think it's a good. If it is going to happen, I think it's a bloody good sign.
I think the best thing about it is obviously John Bateman arrives at the club, but causes a domino effect that I think it just forces Jairo and Keon to play in the middle. You have Aitken and Bateman, and all the comments I see on social media, people so concerned about Souths through the guards. You throw Jairo and Keon there, shut up. I can't possibly hear anymore.
I don't get that.
Yeah,
you got Keon, Arrow, Moali, and Totola. Like, I think their forward pack is good to go. You got Schuster, you got Aitken, you got John Eyre. I think they're good to go. Timmy, what do you reckon about Big John Eyre?
Well, the other thing,
Tallis Duncan, yeah.
The other thing is
Cam Murray.
He would have had Wayne Bennett would have coached him for England.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's obviously a prior relationship. So Bennett, if this does eventuate, is going, no, like, I see something in Johnny and I know I can get the best out of him for whatever reason it is. I think it'd be a fantastic because any question marks that are around their middles gone now. Like, you've got Bateman who can play middle, he can play on the edge. I don't know. If I was them, it sounds like Keon wants to play on the edge. Whether or not that's his best position, probably isn't. I think he's probably better in the middle for what we saw last year. Granted, he's phenomenal on the edge or in the middle. But I think if Kearn stays on the edge with you and Aitken on the other edge, pending how Josh Schuster goes, I think you bring Bateman on, off the bench, X factor as a middle. He'll be a terrific signing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it and you go, okay, let's say they do sign Bateman. Everyone's injury-free. You're starting front row, could be Keon and Arrow with Murray at 13, Aitken, Bateman on the edges. And then you bring it on to Tola, Moali, Tallis Duncan. And I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, but that is a bloody good forward pack.
And they're also doing that, they're signing some versatile players. So, they've had a few injuries in recent years that's really derailed seasons and that. Between you and Aitken, who can play edge, who can play centre, who can do whatever, John Bateman adds a bit of versatility to that pack. They've got coverage.
Yeah. I love it. I really do. And I don't see, big personality versus big personality. I don't see Bateman struggling in the South. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make about Bennett coaching him at England. So if they've already got a bit of a relationship with there, he's just so good, Bennett, at getting the best out of players who at times need a bit of extra motivation. Like, he's going to have you just get the sense he'll bring the best out of Latrell again. I think if Bennett wants him there, I think it'll be a good fit, and I'm sure he'll go better there than he did at the Tigers under Benji. Probably
could only be a good thing for Lewis Dodd as well, coming over. New country, settling in that. If Johnny Bateman is there, I assume they'd have probably some sort of prior relationship. It's got to help the settling in, doesn't it?
Yeah, surely. What do you reckon, Matty, as a Rabbitohs fan?
I love it. I think, Timmy, you made a good point. We've got now Murray, Keon, Jai Arrow, and if Bateman signs, players that can play in the middle and on the edge. Our depth last year was tested because we were easily the most injured team in the comp, particularly around the forwards. Campbell Graham's coming back, which is awesome in so many ways. I am extremely confident that it'll be I'm not saying they're going to win the comp, but I'm saying I'm extremely confident it's going to be a significantly better year. As long as, if they get one or two injuries, sure, that's normal. We got smashed last year, and assuming that doesn't happen again, I think South will be good next year.
They could win the comp.
I think they could.
Genuinely. I look
think
at that
they could.
roster. I mean, Trell looks fit as anything. You know, Rabbitoh's looking good. I'd be very surprised if they're not in the top 8 next year. Very surprised. So I like that. Bit of negative news. Schuster looks to have picked up a calf injury in the preseason. Really concerning. He's had trouble with that calf for quite a while. So I don't know whether that might have prompted the speed of this deal getting done, where them going, oh, wow, Schuster's done his calf again. We need to bring in an edge back rower. Obviously, it won't smash their salary cap by any stretch because I'm assuming Schuster was signed on probably a development deal or a minimum deal in the top 25 or top 30. But it is negative because you were hoping a Schuster under Bennett in a full preseason. You just never know what that could turn out to be. It could be incredible. Also, don't forget, guys, use code DMP for 10% off. Combine that with subscription for 20% off. Go to begoodhealth.com.au. See, I've already emptied me Be Good Health bottle, guys. Every single day we have it. If you want the best multivitamin in the business, you go to begoodhealth.com.au. Use code DMP. All right, it's also been reported that Jareem Bula has a player mutual option for clause for 2027. The report is that Tigers offer him $900K or more. He is forced to stay, but if it's less, he can negotiate with rival clubs. I don't mind this. Actually, this is more of it seems like more of an option in favour of the Tigers, really, because they're looking at that third year going, well, if he does hit his strides, $900K is a pretty good deal for a good fullback at his potential. If he doesn't, then, we're looking for someone else, and I'm assuming Bula would look to negotiate with other clubs if they're saying to him, look, we're not offering $900K. I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all. I think it's a win.
Like a pretty unique deal, right?
I like it, though. I like it. Yeah.
Have you heard of that before, though?
Not really. Look, the thing with contracts is you can have whatever you want if both parties agree. I haven't heard if the Tigers offer him $900K or more, he's forced to stay. But from a club's perspective, I love that, because what it's saying is it's going, if we rate you, we'll keep you. Like, if we think you're our guy going forward, we've looked at you and we've looked at the market and we've gone, okay, what's a top 10 fullback worth these days? It's with the new salary cap, it's probably around 800, 900K. So they've looked at the salary cap in a few years' time, and they know for sure that at the very most, they'll have to pay someone 900K to stay. And if he's not playing as well, then you go, well, we're not going to offer you 900K, and that's okay. You can negotiate with other clubs. So this is actually beneficial to the club. I like it. I don't mind it.
Interesting few years coming up for Bula, isn't it?
Yeah.
Off the back of, obviously a huge debut season. Slowed down a little bit this year, but it was like a train wrap.
It was never bad. He just didn't hit the heights of last year.
Didn't hit the heights. And I mean, they did win the spoon. He's a 20-year-old. In the side.
Got better towards the end of the year as well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Started slow, came back a bit, and then was looking really good, and then got injured and missed the last sort of month or whatever. But there's a good footballer there. So hopefully, if you can get back to and improve on the first couple of years, or certainly the first year where he was amazing, every chance to offer him that 900. Anyway.
You'd have to think Jerome Luai will be great for Bula too.
Oh, massive.
And that's it. Like, first year, you think, right, this bloke is a future superstar, and he still could be. Bit of the second year syndrome about him this season. He said not bad, but just not what we expected. But potential-wise, he could be a superstar still. So, and you made the point. At the end of the day, the Tigers won the wooden spoon. Like, it's bloody hard for anyone to stand out in that. If Dream Bula was at a Melbourne Storm or Penrith Panthers, he probably would have set the world alight this year. So it's...
And what I like about Dream Bula is, like, it's never a lack of effort. Like, he's usually always putting in each game. And sometimes when you see a player come out in their first year and it's all this, like, silky ball playing and this stuff that sometimes you can just have a year and it all works for you. And then you can go the rest of your career and it just doesn't seem to work. A bounce doesn't go your way. What I like about Bula's breakout year, it was all based on effort. Like, it was try-saving tackles, it was repeat efforts, it was, heaps of run meters. And so, like, that's a guy you want at your club that if things aren't going their way, he's still going to try to have his 20 runs a game, So, yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's pretty good. Shout out to Reborn Fitness, because the other day in Caringbah South, they let us do the photo shoot for Bloke Undies there. So if you're in the area, Caringbah in the Shire, get down to Reborn Fitness. It's a absolutely outstanding gym. It's obviously got all the gym equipment you can need. It's got a boxing area. It's got an upstairs area that has, like, the lights off and all the loud music. It's got a recovery area, ice cold baths, all that. It's got saunas. It's got everything you need. It's a one-stop shop for recovery and also for fitness. It's Reborn Fitness, and just a massive shout out for letting us use their gym for the Bloke Undies launch, which is now available. And also a shout out to Rusty Rabbit, Darlinghurst and St. Leonard's. They helped us with the Grumpy Coffee a few weeks ago. So if you need catering, go to Rusty Rabbit's Instagram. Alrighty, time for Beak's Bag from @TonyMarshall11. Make sure to email matt@blokeinabar.com to claim your $50 voucher, Tony Marshall. And as we say every week, guys, leave a comment. And each week we pick one comment and we give them a $50 bloke gift voucher. So leave a comment on our YouTube or our Spotify. It really does help us. Do we need to bring back 2 games in one state and 1 game in the other state for state of origin? So basically, there used to be a time where it was all just in Queensland and New South Wales. And from a purist perspective, I love that. Like, I would love nothing more than to have each game in each state, just that rivalry, and it feels like the most pure form of rugby league. However, I do believe, if you had asked me this question a few years ago, I probably would have said I want each game in each state, New South Wales, Queensland. Now, if you ask me, with how important it is to grow the game, I think we should take our best game to where we have been taking it to showcase the game. And so I actually agree with the NRL taking it to a neutral state each year. Matter of fact, I'll go as far to say, and if you had asked me this maybe even 12 months ago, I would have said, don't take it to New Zealand. I might have actually changed my mind and said, I'm actually okay with it going to New Zealand for one series. Just because I'm getting more clued on to the fact of how important Origin is in growing our game. And if you're not growing as a game, you're actually going backwards. You don't just stay the same. You've got to continually grow. So I think that having the game in a neutral state to help grow it, I like that idea.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Once again, I could be walking into one of the great fucking tantrums of all time here, but I feel like there was a period of time where it felt like New South Wales, we were always giving away our home game. And Queensland always seemed to have 2 when it was their year.
Oh, come on, mate.
I'm happy to be proven wrong with facts, but I sort of remember maybe that was in that decade where I was crying the entire time. I do, at least I like it now that at least it's 1 game in each.
Yeah, definitely.
I do feel like there was a long period of time when New South Wales, we always gave away one of our home games.
Probably got paid for it or something.
Probably, sure, but
you do love a Corby
I
dollar.
thought that we give up too often.
Well, you are the state known to love a bit of cash.
That's right.
Always chasing the cash. We're chasing victories. You're chasing cash.
The concept of the neutral venue, I think it's fantastic. Like it's such a big spectacle now. I said in a 3-game series, the home advantage is so monumental that it's a lot. It's too much. And he said, in terms of growing the game, Kempy, it's not like we go to Perth or we go to Adelaide and 10,000 people turn up and it doesn't sell out. It's like wherever it goes, it sells out. Is such a great way to promote and grow the game. I think 100% stay as is.
Yeah, I think, as I said, 12 months ago, I wouldn't have probably wanted New Zealand because I'm like, it's an Australian-based game. It's state versus state. But then I go, you look what happened with rugby league versus rugby union when the Wars went as well as they did. And you start taking the Origin over there, all of a sudden that battle becomes a bit easier. So I'm actually a bit more open to taking it to New Zealand for one game. I'd be happy to hear the talk against it. I think at the very least we should always have at least 1 game in New South Wales and 1 game in Queensland. And there's an argument to be made it's actually fairer to have the other game in a neutral state because
100% is.
Because you don't have that rotating thing of like 2 games in 1 year, 2 games in the next year. So it actually, from a purely fan perspective, when you're looking at what's the fairest competition, the neutral state is actually the fairest one.
Do we all agree that the decider should always be in New South Wales?
Oh, absolutely. Decider should always be in a home state.
By the way, 60 Origin games in Brisbane, 52 in Sydney.
Chasing the cash.
So it wasn't crazy.
So it wasn't
Chasing
crazy.
cash, sure, but yeah.
Okay, so you weren't
just
crazy.
me being a big fucking sook as people.
That's good stuff. Chasing cash. Anyway, leave a comment, guys, in regards to Beak's Bag.
Hey, if they play one in New Zealand, who do you reckon the crowd would side?
Queensland, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because I reckon this generation coming through that would probably go to the game, which is like, what do you reckon, like 30-year-old or 25 to 35-year-olds?
Yeah.
They would have gone through the dominant era of Queensland.
Yep.
So I reckon mostly Queensland. And also...
Mitch Barnett might help.
Yeah, Mitch Barnett. Yeah, maybe. But I reckon Queensland will be the most likely state. Yep. Okay, Tommy Flegler. Christian Wolf says Flegler's surgery was a success so far, but he won't return in round 1. He has said his return could be anywhere between mid-season 25 and the start of 26. Jeez.
Wow.
This sucks, bro.
Would that be the longest layoff ever in kind of rugby league?
Mate.
2 years?
Might be. I'm not sure, but I mean, well, Tomato Martin, he had a couple of years out with the head knock.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah, sucks. Like, talk about truly, just as his career was about to explode. Like, I know he played Origin and he got to a grand final, but he was genuinely about to become one of the best front rowers in the competition.
Well, he was on the bench when Australia got beaten 30-0. Like, he was in the Kangaroo side.
And then injury happens. He's such a good bloke, man. He's such a just down to earth, good, honest rugby league bloke. Just sucked to hear it.
Yeah, and I know from like talking to people up at the Dolphins, like they adore him up there. They just love him. But mate, the longer this goes on, the more concerned I'm getting.
Yeah.
I hope it turns out well, but yeah, it's been a long time now.
It's a nerve issue, right?
Yeah.
In the shoulder.
Yep. Sucks.
Very interesting one.
Yeah.
Like, have we
Sucks,
seen
man.
it before in a footy club?
Nah, I mean, I'm sure there have been ones
Yeah.
before, but this one's just, yeah. So, I mean, hope they've been getting salary cap exemption, surely.
I think they
Surely they would be.
Yeah.
But it sucks because you go, okay, Flegler plays last year for them. They probably make the 8.
Yeah, and like Tom Gilbert's missed 2 seasons. Like, they've been incredibly unlucky with
And you
their
got
middle forwards.
Herbie missed, 6 weeks or so last year. Just so unlucky. It's actually like a miracle they've gone as well as they've gone. Their key players have been out for ages, so that sucks. Don't forget, guys, Grumpy Coffee mugs are available right now, grumpycoffee.com.au. Xavier Savage has reportedly re-signed with the Raiders for 2 years. What a great story. What a great story, Xavier Savage. Like, I cannot express to you, the whispers were so loud only like 12 months ago, maybe a bit longer, that not only was he maybe going to move on for the Raiders, that he was just going to go back and play Q Cup up north. Like, that's what you were hearing. And then to earn the respect of Ricky, one of the toughest blokes in rugby league, where he, the standards he expects are super high, to turn around the way Xavier Savage has, I cannot wait to see what he eventually develops into, because I felt like he really rounded out his game last year, and I think he's going to be even better this year for it.
I reckon this time last year, I didn't see him staying at the Canberra Raiders or staying in first grade. Like, I had serious concerns, but fuck, he improved a lot last year. And it just felt like it was all effort areas, which you love to see.
Yep, absolutely.
What a testament to his character, right? Like you said, it just looked like, did he have the sort of mental fortitude to be an NRL player, particularly in a squad with, as you said, Kempy, Ricky Stewart, who there's no nonsense there. If you're not tough enough, you're gone, kind of thing. And he's turned himself around. When I say turn himself around, question marks around his playing future at the Raiders in the NRL. And said he's just done the tough stuff. So to get re-signed, to make it not only like shifting. There are times where you go, is he only fullback? Is he too small? He's gone onto the wing. He's been fantastic there. Such credit to him.
Yeah, it's one of those real good stories of just giving a bloke a second chance as well. And you can actually, there's an interview last year with Ricky Stewart, and he talked about the fact that I think he sat down with Xavier Savage's family or maybe even just Xavier, and heard about what was going on in his life and realised all the things that Xavier was going through as well. And so it's just such a good story. And I don't think we've seen even close to the best of Xavier. Like, if the Raiders can, in the next few years, get these halves sorted with these young guns coming through, the amount of tries this bloke will score will be off the charts, like genuinely off the charts. His speed is unbelievable. What do you reckon, Hammy?
He improved massively this year. Started just getting through a bit more tough stuff, taking tough carries and stuff as well. He's always obviously had the bit of flair and the speed and all that sort of stuff. So, as you said, Timmy, like Ricky doesn't suffer fools too much. So he's obviously likes what he sees there, and he's gone away and got a little bit tougher. So great signing, and you're spot on. If their halves can get going, they've got a hell of a back line at the moment.
Man. And just he's been at a club where, if you're a winger, you're not really going to get that much opportunity out on the edges. Whereas if those halves coming through, have you heard any word about Saunders coming through and how he's been training in that?
Very little.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Interesting.
Exciting though.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because that battle at the Raiders, it comes down to how does he go? How does Chevy go at fullback? Because with KO Weeks, who was fantastic back end of last season, whether he plays fullback, whether he plays 5'8", what that means for Ethan Strange, does he play centre? Does he play 5'8"? So there's a lot of competition for spots.
Yeah.
There's one they've signed from the Dragons too, Tamale. He made his debut at the back end of last season. Very good player.
Yeah.
Sort of play anywhere in the back line.
And if Saunders can be who we think he's going to be, genuinely club defining. And I don't want to put pressure on the lad. Like, I'm not making it all about, it's just on his shoulders. But when was the last time the Raiders had one of the best number 7s coming through the grades, in that 7 jersey? Like, genuinely, when was the last time?
Malcolm
Might be his
Clinton.
brother.
brother.
What, like 5-6 years ago? Like it's been quite a while since you've had one of the best sevens in the competition that was stuck behind Mitchell Moses, come down to the club, and the plan is for him to be the guy for the next 10 years.
How good is seeing that? Like, we'll see it play out in coming years, but just the plan is there. The blueprint to success is there between Chevy Stewart, Ethan Strange, Saunders coming as well. Gee, it's an exciting future for him.
And what
so nicely.
I love it because we spoke about this. He had two decisions to make, Ricky Stewart. Go in the market, splash cash, and try to get people to the thing, or go young, maybe pay a little bit overs for them for where they're at in their career. However, you may not win games now or in the next 12 months, but it's about that third and fourth year. And he bit the bullet. He said, no, I'm going young. I'm getting these boys in early. Put it this way, like Sanders, he's got all the skill set. We've seen it. He's played for his state, all that stuff. Imagine him with the toughness that Ricky Stewart can bring as well. What he'll be able to turn himself into.
I think that's the beauty of Ricky Stewart as a coach, and why I respect what he's doing so much, is that he could have gone out and splashed catch and just had a tough enough team to never finish last and never get sacked.
Yeah.
Instead, he's gone, no, fuck it. I'm going to try and win a comp in 5 years' time, which I love.
And like the fact that he's even said himself, we don't believe in like rebuilds. We're not going to call it that. But it is a rebuild. It's a rebuild. And yet they were still competitive. I mean, they beat the Roosters and the friggin' Panthers the last 2 games of the year. Yeah. It's, I cannot wait to see how they turn out. Alrighty, time for a question of the week, guys. What is your favourite try of all time? And I'm probably going to think of other tries that pop up and everything like that. But for me, I'll never
against the Eels.
That you said it, not me. That one, no. But for me, it was Greg Inglis over his head to Mark Gasnier playing for Australia in the centenary jerseys. I think it was.
It was
2009.
Man, that try was just like, what is going on right now?
Gravity
What is going
defying.
on? It was so good.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourite tries. That's at least when I asked that question, that's the first thing that came into my head.
I was at the SCG for that centenary test, right in front of where that happened.
No way. Were you like, what was it one of those ones?
In my mind. On that same night, I saw Mike Gasnier and his budgie smugglers as well. So
That also blew your mind?
great night, yeah.
It looked a bit like Gasnier.
Thanks, mate.
A bit like everyone. I'm going to go deep into the vault. The 1990 Kangaroo Tour can be. I still think it's the greatest try. True rugby
You were
league fans
fucking
will
2
know.
years old.
No, it was actually -2. I think it's the greatest try that's ever been scored. It goes through 14 sets of hands. Eddinghausen kicks back over. Cliffy Lyons catches it and scores. Matty will put the footage up. You'll be able to find it. If not, I'll get it from my personal file. It's an absolute cracker. And they were down 1-0 in the series. It got them to win, game 2. That was after the 82 Invincibles, 86. Like, incredible. The Kangaroos weren't allowed to lose to England. They found themselves down 1-0, and incredible moment. Crazy. Yeah.
I love the Doggies growing up, so this is a weird one. But the 2012 grand final, the infamous Billy Slater, Cronk, Cam Smith, just that try on the biggest stage by 3 absolute greats of the game, and there's obviously going to be future Immortals in there. That try just personified that era and the dominance of those 3 players. That was rugby league poetry.
Yeah.
The timing of it, to pull it off. And on top of that, Craig Bellamy, one of the greatest coaches of all time. It was rugby league perfection, that try.
Yeah. That it's one thing to be, everyone says you're the best, the greatest, the big 3, and then all the other clubs, they wanted to have a big 3, but then to go and execute it like that, it's special.
The good thing about that try too, like everyone's talking about the big 3, but it was Ryan Hoffman that ran that line on the edge as well. That he's like, to them, he was part of that big 4 or 5. Then he didn't get the same recognition.
Yeah. Matty, what do you reckon, mate?
We were actually watching this try. I can't remember who I was with. It was last night at the Royal Oak at about 11 p.m. last night. GI's try against the Bronx in 2014 when he picked the ball up. I think Barber kicked it. GI picked it up, ran 70 metres, beat pretty much the whole team, and then beat them again and scored in the corner. It's the best solo try I've ever seen live at a game, and you could argue it's the greatest try of all time.
Not Denny Kemp 2007 against Manly. That's not the best solo try.
I wasn't at that game.
You didn't see that? You didn't see? Okay, fair enough. Just ask the question.
Wasn't bad. I
On
did
debut as well. Didn't see that. Denny Kemp on debut 2007 Manly Seagulls. Didn't see that?
Debut
Okay.
try.
Yeah, 75 metre, mate.
Just the one?
Just the one, yeah.
I think did Jordan was Jordan Rankin ended up upside down scoring one on the wing on debut. Oh, not Jordan Rankin, sorry. There's a winger for the Titans.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was the teacher.
He scored like 4 tries or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. And one of them was like upside down, basically. That wasn't
Yeah,
bad. Honourable mention to that try.
Jandor scored an upside down try as well when he was playing for
Yeah,
Penrith.
the door, the great door.
Yep. I think my favourite one that I watched live would be probably the Billy Slater's one in Origin with the chip and chase over the top from.
Was he offside or not?
Well, who cares? He's a great try.
Was he offside?
No, I'll give it to him. Jordan Atkins it was too.
Jordan Atkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think that one.
You know what? I'm surprised you didn't do the Beak soccer try against the Tigers.
Mate, I was about to embarrass you and
You're
bring that
offside.
up. Who was that? I was telling Jeff Athletic about that the other day, and then we got it up and had a look at it. It's actually quite impressive.
Offside.
Offside.
I couldn't have it in my top 3, unfortunately.
I think the greatest moment of your career is just being pictured with a rifle in the Warriors jersey. What's the context behind
Sharpshooter.
that?
Nah, just content. They just took us down to some place and to shoot discs or something like that for content. I don't know. I just said,
I
yeah,
love
sweet.
that photo.
Yeah, sweet. There's another try. I don't think he actually scored it, but Semi Raja. I don't know which. You know the breakaway try where he like gassed 1 million people. Was it against the Rabbitohs?
South.
Yeah,
He did score, yeah.
that is a crazy. Semi Raja is one of the great mysteries of if he had stayed for his whole career, what would have he been? Because there's a lot of people that consider him one of the GOATs.
Yeah. He was untouchable.
So good.
Yeah.
That try for me, just a guy that big moving like that is just like, what the hell's going on there?
Speaking of big guys who could move, I used to love Taniela Tuaki for the Tigers, the big winger. He scored one against the Titans back before they redid the ground when it was still Carrara, like the Oval. And he putted 3 or 4 blokes off and just went like the length of the field. That was outstanding.
So was the other one that I'll never forget is the first time Joey did the banana kick. I think it was John Morris that caught the ball. He was playing out on the wing or something. I remember like everyone just sort of went, it was sort of like that Joe made everyone, what the fuck just happened? Like to see it live and it was, insane.
I'm surprised you did bring up 2010 round 1 Broncos Cowboys match winner, 75th minute. Surprised you didn't bring that up.
Well, that's kind of in a league of its own, right? Like, you don't even need to bring it up.
We're trying to make it fair on some of the other tries.
You know what?
So.
People are going to think that I actually put this question in the show notes. Just to be clear, it's Maddie that does the show
Yeah,
notes.
no, I put it in the notes last night at 11 when I was watching this try in the Oak thinking, wow, this would be good for the show.
Do you have a try that you remember you're on the field for it being scored?
Um,
That stands out to you?
There was one that I scored against the Raiders, but I couldn't believe the accuracy of Darren Lockyer. So it was like the end of the game, we'd already beaten him by a fair margin, and he just looked at me like that, nodded, and he did like a 40-meter pinpoint kick where I gassed their winger. But if it landed like anywhere else, like you can talk about the Eels one as well, but this one was like, if it landed anywhere else, like the fullback should have covered it, the winger should have covered it. But it was just this like, and I just remember going like, he's just gone, okay, the game's already over. We're at 113 plus, I think. Looked at me, nodded, and he's just, I don't think it was a banana kick, but it was like maybe back across his body.
I remember. It was on the right side.
It was on the right side, back across his body, and it just landed literally, if it was a metre further, it probably gets picked up by the fullback. A metre back, the winger gets it. And I just remember thinking like Darren Lockyer, the amount of big plays. Oh, another one, that's what I was going to... One of the greatest tries I've ever seen in person was, so we'd played under 19s Queensland in Suncorp, and it was one of the opening curtain raisers for the Origin game. It was Matty Bowen intercept at Suncorp Stadium. Just seeing that from the side, oh man, just beautiful. But then one of the greatest tries, I think, when you consider all the context, and you could argue it started the dynasty, I think. So Darren Lockyer and all the key senior players of Queensland have been told by Mal Meninga, you got one series or you're gone. Because you were about to go 4 in a row, I think. And I think it was, who threw off the deck? Hodgson?
Yep.
Brett
Hodgson throws it off the deck and it lands in the middle of nowhere. Lockyer sprints through, grabs it and scores to win the series, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was. Yep. That was my first Origin game I ever went to.
And the context around that, because like, that wasn't skill. That was pure effort. Like that was putting pressure with your defense and being there with effort, and to be one of the senior players, and I think the captain at that stage, pretty sure Lockyer was a captain then.
Yeah, he was.
That started the dynasty.
Yeah.
If that play doesn't happen, Lockyer gets dropped, all the senior players get dropped.
I almost think that try, it almost starts this thing that you've had for so long that has shit me to no end, that you just never stop moving.
Yeah.
It's almost the start of that. Because I remember watching that live going, why the fuck was he there?
Yeah, he shouldn't have been there.
How did he... That ball came out of dummy half. Why was he there?
Yeah. And that started the dynasty because they were told before that series, the senior playing group, you will be dropped, done. Your career is pretty much over if you lose your series. And then that happens.
Yeah.
And he played like another 5 or 6 series after that.
Crazy. Absolutely. Like imagine he gets dropped then. Yeah. Who plays 6? What, a young Thurston?
Scott Prince.
Thurston and Prince.
Yeah. I mean, it changes the history of rugby league, realistically. It changes everything.
But that one play, and it wasn't skill. Like anyone could make that play because it's an effort play.
Yeah.
But Darren Lockyer, who had every right, he didn't need to do that. He's Darren Lockyer, nails it. So yeah, that's actually, you know what? That's probably my favourite try of all time. Actually, no. Sean Berrigan against the Bulldogs, semi-final.
Upside down.
So Carmichael Hunt gets moved in his debut year, maybe the year after, 2006. So maybe a year or two after. Get to the final series. Wayne Bennett moves him to fullback.
Yeah.
And then he puts Hodjo at fullback. Sorry, moves him to wing, puts Hodjo at fullback. And Barrow, who had played a bit of centre, I think maybe gets moved into 9.
He was an Australian centre at the time.
Yeah, gets moved into 9. Anyway, Hodjo has one of the games of his absolute life, makes this break, gives it to Barrow. Barrow looks like he's going to, not score for all money. Somehow gets the ball down. And then obviously the famous quote at halftime from the doggies was, we've got this, rah-rah. And yeah, just...
Game over at half time and Berrigan came on and just turned it.
That try. I mean, I know this is hindsight speaking, but that won them the comp.
Yeah.
Like that won them the comp. From that point on, they just had this belief that they could win.
I think it's the most underrated few months by a coach ever. What Wayne did there,
Mental.
Lost Mick Ennis to injury, moved his Australian centre to hooker, and he won a Clive Churchill there a few weeks later.
Mental.
Moved Hodges to centre. He had the best young fullback in the game. He was killing it. Moved him to the wing. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It just, master stroke, like just a master coaching. And
did it with a reserve grade halfback too.
Yeah, Shane Perry. Yeah.
All while he was at a Roosters deal on the boil. In the background. Fell through.
Yeah, just an incredible series that. Berrigan to this day, one of the great utilities.
Yeah.
Even though he was an out-and-out centre when he first came in, one of the great utilities, Barrow. Yeah. Okay, Sharkies, Daniel Atkinson is signed with the Dragons for 2026. Sharks have re-signed Liam Eason, who plays fullback. Atkinson to the Dragons. We've already kind of spoken about this. I love this signing. Like, he's a guy that I think has the talent to be a top 8-6 for the next 5 years. I think they would have got him for, the reports were $500K a year. That's the reports. That's a bargain. Because again, back to the Lockie Galvin situation. You sign him for a 3-year deal, $500K each year. He might be 25 by the time it ends. You telling me there isn't another club that goes, we'll pay 350 of that, 400 for a half that play? Because like you pay 400K for a half that plays reserve grade. Like that's actually a reasonable price for a reserve grade half because you need backup. I think this is a bloody brilliant signing by the Dragons, and it's a bargain.
I love it. I think, the earlier signing now, you're just looking to go, okay, it's a stepping stone to something now. And I think it makes complete sense. I mean, if you were to write a list of guys who have single-handedly gone to Melbourne and dismantled them by themselves, it's Atkinson, and I can't remember many others.
Not many.
Not many. Like I think this is a great signing by the Dragons, and if I'm the Sharks, it's not a hope in hell I'm letting him go early, as we've already spoken about. But
no way.
I think the Dragons I think they're shaping up. I'm not saying they're going to win a comp in the next few years, but I think they're shaping up to look like a good footy side over the next few seasons.
If they can land a 7, like a top tier 7, bloody laughing.
That game down to Melbourne was the making of him, wasn't it? When he just goes, there was no Nico, there was no Trindle. They were going down to Melbourne. It's like, all right, how they goes. I have a feeling like Brayley played like 5'8" or something.
Well, so they had McInnes at 7, but Brayley was defending 7. So he was basically by himself.
Running the show by himself and beats Melbourne in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you say, okay, this kid can play.
Yeah, incredible. And then he did it again against the Knights, drop goal to win. I love this signing. Now, really interesting, Sharks re-signed Liam Eason. Now, till 2027, depending on how much they re-sign him for, it looks as if, I wouldn't say writing on the wall for Kennedy, but geez, that pressure has ramped up like a bazillion for Kennedy this year.
Mate, big time. And with Eason re-signing it, I don't know, I've said it a few times, like I would seriously look at making a move at fullback. start of this season. Like just having a look at his stats from last year, Will Kennedy, he was very quiet. And I know that, he's a guy that is just consistent and reliable, but 26 games, 5 tries, 4 line breaks, 8 try assists.
It's a really quiet year for
It's
Kennedy.
a very quiet year. It's an incredibly quiet year. And the years before, he had that, was it 21 or 22 where he was really exceptional? He was great. Year after, he sort of was a little bit it's been a quiet 2 or 3 years for him, realistically. And
The thing is, he never plays poorly.
He never plays poorly, exactly right.
You need a bit
yes.
more out of him.
But you look at all the teams that win comms, elite fullbacks. It's just, and the Cronulla Sharks, they are not in the relevant business anymore. Their premiership window is open right now.
And Will Kennedy, the worrying thing is they've re-signed Eason before re-signing him. Because he's off. He's actually available to talk, right now, I think?
I think so, yeah.
And so with that happening, the pressure is just mounted astronomically.
Yeah.
Timmy, what do you reckon?
Well, competition for spots, that's what you want. And it's the same with Atkinson going down to the Dragons, and you've now got Ilias, you've got Flanagan this year who are playing for that spot to probably partner Daniel Atkinson. We'll see how it plays out. But and it's the same as the Sharks. They've got ice and they've just said, you know what, to Kennedy, mate, you need to, this isn't your spot. It's not fair keeps. You've got to earn it. It's going to be massive pressure. So the shootout between those two, and probably to a lesser degree Atkinson as well, who do we think is number 1 in round 1?
I think it'll be Kennedy, but I think they could look around the room as the year goes on. And I think Atkinson playing there is really not a bad shit.
Interesting.
I like Atkinson at fullback. I think that he could offer a lot. However, initially I thought Kennedy would start the year. I thought he'd get, but this re-signing to me is maybe not. Maybe not. Think about it. They've re-signed him till 27 before they've re-signed Kennedy. Now, granted, maybe they offered Kennedy a contract and it's too low, but I haven't heard any whispers that that's even happening at the moment.
Is Ison an out-and-out fullback?
Yeah, like a full-on, almost so much that he's not actually anything else.
The only thing that I wonder is, because of the unique situation, they're starting their season in Las Vegas. It'll be a bit of a disrupted preseason. Do you maybe just go with the safe Will Kennedy?
Yeah, potentially.
As I said, I would like to see a change at fullback, but I can fully understand if they start the season.
Well, you know how if you went down and watched their preseason for the next 4 weeks, you'd get a good idea.
Yeah.
If Liam is getting a lot of reps in at fullback, they're basically saying it's a shootout for the fullback position. I think it'd be a little bit rough on Kennedy to not give him the first crack. But again, what surprises me so much is they've gone out and signed him not till 26, not for 2 years, till friggin' 27.
Yeah, I think just from looking at Craig Fitzgibbon's history over the years, I think he will give Kennedy the first shot.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I agree. I think he will get the first shot. However, if there was a nitpick on Fitzgibbon that some Sharks fans have, is that he is too patient with those decisions. And maybe that is something that Fitzgibbon is going to learn this year. Not learn, because it could be wrong. It's not to say it's true. But maybe he might look at that and go, maybe I need to be a bit...
And to be honest, that's an issue that I have with his coaching. He's been a top 4 coach the last 2 years, though.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. But I do think he has been a little bit patient with certain players for too long. This is a move that I would make.
Gun to head, I'd love to hear this. Gun to head, Atkinson or Trindle?
Atkinson.
Whew.
Oh, sorry,
Not a fullback. You're about to re-sign Atkinson or Trindle. They're both on the same amount of money, 3-year deal. Who you're signing?
It depends what I'm looking for. If it's a halfback, it's Trindle without a doubt.
To partner Hines.
Is Hines going to be the halfback?
Yep.
Then Atkinson, without a doubt.
Yeah, to partner Hines, Atkinson. Yeah. Those two head-to-head, I'm like, Trindle has runs on the board and he's been fantastic. So Trindle, but in that context, to partner Hines, I'd go Atkinson.
If you're giving Hines the keys, it's Atkinson.
But if Hines is playing 6, it's...
Trindle.
Okay.
But I'm still not convinced that combination's going to be successful, to be honest with you.
What are you going?
It depends who's playing where. That's the thing with the Sharks. I don't know that Nico's best spot is 7. But if he's at 7, I would take Atkinson.
Who's a better 7, Trindle or Hines?
Who's a better halfback? Trindle.
Okay.
Hines a better footballer.
Yeah, I mean, Hines is definitely a better footballer, but in terms of an old school running the show number 7, I think Trindle has so many more runs on the board in terms of he's grown up, he's gone through the games as a half. Nico, he's still learning the role. So as now at 7, Trindle.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, your nuts and bolts number 7 organising, Trindle. But Nico's a better footballer.
Every day of the week,
if you can only have one of them to lead your side at halfback on their own, it's Nico.
Sure.
It's a little bit unorthodox, but we've seen it work. It's a bizarre situation. I've
Yeah.
never
What
seen
about you?
anything like it.
I think Hines is a better 7, and I think people they look at Hines when he was 7 and they go, oh, well, the big games weren't won, but you have to look at the whole playing roster, and they were nowhere near as developed as they were now. And I still think there's a world where they're a better side with him at 7 than Trindle at 7. Now, I think that Trindle's probably a better 7 than 6, but I think that there's a world where Hines is they're a better team with Hines leading them around the park still.
Yeah, I
At 7.
don't disagree with that, but I don't think you can put them together.
Yeah, I'm still open to putting them together. Like I'm still open to putting Trindle at 6 and putting Hines at 7. Like I'm open to both. Like I'm not shut off. But I'm not sure. I'm still not sure whether Trindle can lead them around the park for a whole 12 to 24 months of footy.
Yep.
Whereas I do know Hines can lead them around the park for 12 to 24 months of footy and be the main man. I'm still not sure about Trindle like long term. However, heaps of talent. I thought his final series was outstanding. I thought that if he plays like the final series for like 12 months, then absolutely 7, lock him in, outstanding. But I just want to see a bit more from Trindle in first grade.
He's also only 25. It feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah.
Trindle,
25 years old.
He's been super patient,
Yeah.
and that's one area where I do understand why the Sharks signed him, and I also understand why Trindle. Like, I respect the fact that the Sharks repaid Trindle's patience, because Trindle could have signed for other clubs many years ago, and he has been so patient at the Sharks. Like, think about, he's 25. Like, he had massive raps on him friggin' 5 years ago. Yep. And he has waited and waited and waited. And so I got a lot of respect for Trindle for doing that, but also for the Sharkies, because I'm sure, like, they probably wouldn't ever say it publicly. Oh, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd assume the conversation, and that's what I was alluding to right at the start, I reckon there was a conversation. Do we sign Trindle or do we sign Aitken? I reckon that was a real conversation at the club. And I think they've looked at the history, they've looked at Trindle's patience, and they've said, you know what? If we're all about standards and culture and everything like that, then we should be doing the right thing by Trindle. And also, Trindle played an incredibly good final series. Who do you reckon is going to have more impact in the NRL, Atkinson or Trindle?
Fuck, you're getting deep, Kempy. I think that I think the Sharks have a better chance to win a comp over the next few years, and I think Trindle will be a very important part of that if they do. I'd probably lean towards Trindle at the moment.
I was at Trindle.
Yeah. But if you told me Nico was going to be the 7 and Atkinson was going to be the 6 of the Sharks and Trindle was going to go to the Dragons, I'd probably say Atkinson. I think it's got more to do with the Sharks that have aligned themselves perfectly to a premiership window right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. For that reason, I'll go with Trindle as well.
I'm just Atkinson for me. I don't know. I think that Atkinson's ceiling might be higher, maybe.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Maybe.
But I think the thing that I love with Trindle is that there's not many good halfbacks like him.
Yeah,
around.
for sure. I can't wait to see how that all pans out, and because if Trindle and Hines can click, that's together for at least 3 to 4 years, and that's a scary. I mean, we saw how well they played together in the final series.
It can win a comp if it clicks.
Yeah, absolutely it can. And that's a credit to Trindle for his patience. Because, like, again, that's why what I respect so much about what Trindle did, because he could have gone to another club that was struggling and kind of been a decent kind of 7 that, you know, maybe kicked on, maybe didn't. However, because he's been patient and he's believed in the vision of the club, they are now in a premiership window. And he wouldn't have that if he didn't stay patient. And I understand the club was also good with him when he had his little dramas. And that's what I love the Trindle story because of that. It's such a bloody good story about second chances, about patience. And we always talk about how there's like no loyalty in rugby league. The Trindle story for me is a really good example of the good sides of rugby league, where the club's been loyal to him, he's been loyal to the club.
I think with Trindle as well, you got to remember, like, yeah, he's been patient under Nico. Like, he's also patient under Sean Johnson too.
Yeah,
like
mate,
Sean Johnson left, and then Hines arrived with Dally M, and he's going, "Fuck, what am I going to do here?"
Yep, and he's stuck around, and now he's got his contract. So even though when I look at him and Atkinson, I don't know who's going to explode. I do like the story of Trindle as well. Like, they're both super talented.
Yeah.
They're both super talented, and it's a credit to the Cronulla Sharks system that both those guys have developed into the players they have been.
And I personally think there is every chance we're having the exact same conversation in 2 years' time. Replace Atkinson with Kate Dykes.
Can't wait to see
They're
it.
in a very good spot.
Yeah, can't wait to see it. So I'm so intrigued to see this Trindle Hines. If they can build on, because I think I'd be very confident to say Hines was injured in the final series. I reckon he wasn't 100% that whole time.
Yeah.
So imagine that halves combination when Hines starts hitting his straps and Trindle, if he plays like he did in that final series, all of a sudden you've got a damaging halves combination. So very, very keen to see that. Okay. Josiah Pahulu from the Titans. If reports are to be believed, the Titans sat Pahulu out for the final game of the season, allegedly, costing him $40,000 in bonuses. Pahulu's camp is not happy. The NRL and Players Union are watching it closely. He has an offer from the Bulldogs from 26 onwards that he's expected to accept. This is a strange one. So the Titans were asked for comment, and they said we don't comment on people's contracts. And then I watched Footy Talk or League with Chamis and Danny Wilder, and they have rotating guests or whatever. And Chamis said that the Titans had offered Pahulu, okay, if you sign this extension, we'll put that $40K in the contract this year. So it's a very complex, bizarre situation. Now, by all reports that he was rested, so he should have been playing, as if he was playing well enough to get selected. I haven't gone back and watched rounds 18 and 19, so I can't 100% for certain say whether he wouldn't or he wouldn't have. But if it is true that they just said, no, we're resting because we don't want to pay you $40,000, what a silly business decision. He won their Rookie of the Year this year, I'm pretty sure. There's no way he's going to re-sign with the club after this has all gone down. Over $40,000. It's such an unfathomable decision. Unfathomable decision. I can't see that. I hate to say there's more to it, and I'm not suggesting Pahulu did anything wrong, but I can't believe the Titans would make such a silly decision over $40,000 that they would now lose a player. I'd want to know more. I want to know more.
I wish the Titans would talk about it and clear it up, because the optics don't look great.
They look
to
terrible.
me, they look dreadful. He's a guy that played, I think, 19 games this year. He had to play 20 to tick that over. They get to the last round. They pick Keenan Palasia over, and then they let him go to Super League 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
What they debuted a second rower in that game as well. I think this kid's going to be a gun.
I thought he was bloody good.
Very costly.
He won their Rookie of the Year, I'm pretty sure.
And he's it seems bizarre. I'd love for the Titans to come out and explain it, because the optics for me look pretty evident of what happened here. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't look good at all.
Well, he played 19 games straight. He missed round 25 against the Roosters, but he played every game before that from round 5 onwards. And he was starting games as well. So this should happen a little bit though. Clubs obviously aren't going to talk about it, but because there are so many bonuses implemented by playing X amount of games, it'd happen a bit, wouldn't it? Not saying it's right, but
yeah, I'm sure clubs do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say regularly, but it's not unheard of. But what I just don't understand is from a Titans perspective, it's not good. It's not even good for culture. What I'm not getting is this doesn't help anyone. Over $40,000. Are you telling me the Titans are in such a tight spot that they can't get this young fella $40,000? For example, surely you could sit him down. You go, okay, hey mate, we're going to play you, but about this bonus, we don't have that money right now. Can we pay you in installments over the next 6 months on your contract? Surely there's a way, if the financial pressure is too much, to go, this is what's happening, mate, but you will get your bonus. It doesn't matter how you slice it. I just don't see what the benefit is here. The only benefit here is you save $40,000, but you've just lost your Rookie of the Year player.
And you also potentially piss off other players that might be thinking about going there or are already there, going, well, if this happened to this guy, who's to say that they won't do the exact same thing to me?
the salary cap's over $12 million. It's $40,000.
It's $40,000. And again, surely you sit him down and explain that to him. Put it this way. Let's say they were so tight on the cap that they couldn't afford to pay him. If they sat him down and explained all that and went through it all, do you reckon this fines the paper? Or I reckon Pahulu is a pretty reasonable young fella that would go, okay, fair enough. If we're over the cup, I don't want anyone in trouble. I don't want anyone, tapped on the shoulder and moved on. Let's work out a way for me to get this at some stage. But the fact that they just reportedly sat him, and guys, if there is way more to the story, of course we will come on this podcast and we will correct ourselves and we will say we were wrong. But I just don't see how 40 grand could be worth pissing off your rookie of the year and also potentially stopping other players from signing at your club because they're like, well, if you promise me things, like, they may not come through.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
It's not a good look.
And what surprises me the most about all this is, to my understanding, what I've heard about the owners of the Titans, they go above and beyond for their players. Like, some of the stuff I've heard the Titans have done for their players and players that aren't even with them anymore, as like genuinely, I've never heard other clubs do. Like, we're talking about owners that go above and beyond. And so that's what strikes me. And granted, it's not the owners that makes the decision. It's obviously the CEO and the coach and all that kind of stuff that make the decision to rest him. That's what surprises me the most, is it's coming from a club that, to my understanding, have some of the most, like, care the most about their players. Cannot believe it. Now, I will say, him with the doggies, I love that signing. He suits what they do perfectly.
It's becoming a very attractive club, the Dogs, isn't it? Like, players seemingly wanting to go there. And it's like just how quickly things have changed over there.
Yeah. It's crazy how a team that is, he's not even in a premiership window yet. And yet, if they come and knocking on your door, you're listening.
Yeah.
Like, whereas you've got other teams that have been in the top 8 for years that don't have as much pull right now as the Bulldogs because there's so much hype around them. Just another quick thing on the Titans. What I also can't understand as well is, like, it's not like they're a big dog club that can afford to do these kind of things and throw their weight around. They're a club that have struggled for many, many years. Bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
And I mean, like, once again, just the optics, but Bo Fermor started in the centres in that game. They were already short in the forward pack. Dave Fafita didn't play. Chris Randall played second row. He's a hooker. The debutant started in the back row. On the bench was Aaron Clark, who's not there. Keenan Palacia, who's not there anymore. Like, it's a shit show. It's just, I don't know. Once again, want more context, but I don't know how else you read into it.
$40,000. Like, for the club, that's not much. You know how much that is for a young fella?
Yeah.
Like, that, we're talking about a rookie here.
Yep.
40, that is so much money. Like, he could buy his mum a car. If he needed, he could invest it. Like, that's like, after tax, that might be, I don't know, 25K or something. You put that in some, like, your savings to buy a, like, that's a lot of money.
It's huge.
It's huge money. It's just, yeah, I just can't believe it. As I said, if there's more to the story, I apologise, and I think we'd all agree.
I'd be stoked to be wrong on this. It'd be unreal to be wrong.
We'll put our hands up and we say, yep, there was more to the story, and we shouldn't have just. But yeah, anyway. Now, him to the Bulldogs. We all love it.
Love it. Huge. Yeah.
Oh, he was great from the Titans last year. He's young, he's explosive, he's aggressive, he's got a decent motor on him. I love the energy that he brought every time he come onto the field. So yeah, love it. Okay, now onto a bit of cricket. All right, heading into the last test, boys. Any changes need to be, not the last test, sorry, the third test.
Third test.
What's the talking points? What's going on?
Well, Josh Hazelwood, will he come back in? Will he not come back in? I'd probably be inclined to give him another rest, Timmy. I thought Scotty Boland was pretty good. I wouldn't rush him back, is my point.
You don't have to rush him because how good Scott Boland was.
Yeah.
And like, there's a drop catch, there's the wicket off the no ball as well. It could have been so many more. Look, if Josh Hazelwood's fit, you bring him back straight away.
Yep.
But if there's any concern around re-injury or any of that, just give him another test off.
Agree. Yeah. Beyond that, I don't reckon there's really any other changes they're going to make. I still think Mitch Marsh is sore. Interesting that he didn't review that one that he didn't hit, and he ended up being out. I don't know. Didn't bowl that much. Didn't need to. Didn't make any runs. He'd like some runs. He'd like a bit of a score. Probably up at Brisbane if he's well enough to play. But he's a bit of a watch for me because I just get the sense at some point he may need a rest, or he just looks a little bit tired, a little bit sore to me.
The win saves just a lot of headaches. Like McSweeney getting a few runs, Marnus getting a few runs. Like if they didn't, well then regardless of the victory, you're having conversations about, do you bring Constas in? Like that was going to be the big talking point. But they've saved themselves for at least. I mean, McSweeney's 2 tests into his career. Like he had time, but they've bought themselves some time.
Did we play really good or India play poorly?
Both. I think it was more a case of us playing really well, though. They were never able to get on top of us at any point. They won the toss and batted. Probably not a bad toss to lose, that one. Pink ball, it was pretty cloudy overhead, and Stark I mean, just set the tone with the wicket on the first ball. Like, we just had all the momentum right at the start.
Good history in the pink ball test as well. Like, particularly, I think it was Cummins and Stark. They both averaged around that 17-18 mark with the ball in pink ball test. Minus Labuschagne, I believe he has the best record in world cricket. He averages mid-60s in pink ball cricket. So coming into it as well, like, conditions suited. That being said, you've got probably the best bowler in the world in Jasprit Bumrah.
So the pink ball, does that bounce around a bit more?
Swings around a bit more, does a little bit more. Exactly why that is, I'm not sure. Obviously, they play like a session which is in the evening, so you could argue that it's harder to obviously see it at night under lights.
How can we get absolutely belted around the ground last week, so 2 weeks ago, where the ball's not doing as much?
Yep.
Wouldn't it suit them that the ball's moving more because clearly their batting was much better than ours? Like, how can we go from getting belted on an easier track to being better on a harder track?
I just think we had an off game, really. Yeah. A lot of guys were not at their best. A lot of guys didn't click in the top order across both innings there. But we've never lost a pink ball game at Adelaide, so it was all set up for us to bounce back, really.
And as good as it was, as I sort of said before, but like it was probably a little bit sugar-coated by the fact that Travi had got 140 of our 320 runs.
Yep.
Like, if he goes early, we could have been rolled for 200. Like, you don't know sort of thing.
Yep, it's a good point. India, interesting to see what they kind of do. Rohit Sharma came back in, came in at number 6. Didn't look great, got to be honest. Got hit in the helmet. And then got out the next ball, but it was a no ball. I just wonder whether... Do they need Rohit? I thought when Bumrah skippered the team, he looked pretty good. They got a lot. They got a
bold for them to drop Sharma. Like, I don't think they will, but I see the argument.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I just feel like I don't think he's a walk-up start in that test team. They've got so many good options. Yeah. They've got a lot of depth there. I bumped into the great Brad Haddon at the game as well, and he was sort of suggesting even, yes, he made a ton in the last game, but there's not as much of an aura around Kohli anymore in terms of, like, back in the day, you'd be like, oh, God, here we go. He's probably going to peel off a ton here. But, he made a ton in Perth when we were down and out. But I don't know that you don't really feel that anymore, especially in Test cricket. They've got a couple of guys there who...
So you're saying you hate Kohli?
No, I'm definitely not saying that. Please don't clip this up, sort of Homer Simpson style, on rock bottom.
Hashtag India.
Yeah. Sweet can sort of stuff. But I feel like there's a couple, probably those two guys. Yeah. They're more towards the end than the start. And I feel like they have got a lot of guns ready to go and to come back in. So they're not going to drop him. But interesting to see what happens beyond this series.
Yeah, I mean, even Washington, he was fantastic in the PM's 11 game as well. So they've got options.
Yeah.
Alrighty, on to some athletic news over the weekend. The great Gout Gout, also known as Goat Goat. So at 16 years old, this bloke goes to the 100 metres. At 16 years old, he gets the crowd roaring with a spectacular, though windy, 10.04 performance in his under 18s 100 metre heat. Granted, he's 16 years old. It's the 4th fastest time in all conditions by an Australian in history. 16-year-old. It's the 4th fastest time by any Australian ever. So we're not just talking about 16-year-old, we're talking about anyone. That gets the people going. But it doesn't stop there. Goat Goat, a.k.a. Gout Gout, gets the people going again. In the 200 metres, he runs a 20.04, moves up to second place on the under 18 200 metre all-time list, and is now faster than Usain Bolt in that category. Let me repeat. Gout Gout has a faster time as a 16-year-old than Usain Bolt did, I'm pretty sure as an 18-year-old, in the 200 metres.
More like Usain Bolt.
He also broke the 200-metre record, the Australian 200-metre record, that's been held for 56 years. 20.04. It is, so he is now officially the fastest ever 16-year-old in 200 metres.
Jeez.
Gout Gout, a.k.a. Goat Goat. So there's that.
Do we dare dream of a Australian gold medal on the track?
I think it's time to dare to dream.
Is it time?
Goat Goat, absolutely. Then go to the 400. Terrell Thorne, he has broken the under 18 400 metre record that's been held since 1989 with a 45.64. The old record was 45.96. Thorne, the guy that just broke it, his PB before today was 46.44.
Any relation to Brad?
No relation to Brad, I don't think.
Okay.
But so there's some records broken there, and also I actually have to get it up because I think that there was a young lady that actually broke some records as well.
While you're looking for that, this is exciting times because obviously we've got an Olympics coming up in a couple of years in the States.
32.
Yeah, and then what? Yeah, so by the time how old will he be by then? 24 years
He'll be
old.
perfect.
He'll be like peaking.
He's doing better times than Usain Bolt at 200 meters at
Yeah.
that age.
That was going to be my question for sprinters. Where's like this? Is there an optimal age?
I think
Do
it's
you think they
around
sort of
your
peak?
26, 27, I think, is like peaking age.
right,
Maybe
okay.
25. Now, also, I'm trying to get up the young lady's name that killed it.
So Usain Bolt was 22, 26, and then 30, I believe, when he won his 3 golds.
Is he just like an exception though? Just a freak can do it at any age, sort of thing. Like, is it?
No,
more-
I think around 25 is
Yeah, so
when you start
mid-
peaking.
Yeah.
So we're prime. We're going to win a gold at home. Which is
Pretty much locked in.
Great.
Pretty much locked in. Oh man, I can't find the young lady that killed it. Maybe the great Roger Fabry will have it. Oh, please.
And 2032 is Brisbane.
Yep.
Yep.
New stadium coming apparently back on the agenda at a new location, not the Gabatoir. So
Interesting.
Interesting to see what happens there.
Oh no, I can't find it.
What will the time gap be between Magic Round and the Olympics in 2032?
Well, last time I was out here, remember they brought the season forward and the Olympics
Yeah.
happened in September.
Yes.
So 4 months or so between Magic
Okay.
Round. And shout out to the Fox Sports headline as well, which referred to his run as Gout of this world.
Because the commentator said that's Gout of this world.
That's great stuff.
He's robbed the commentator of a.
A little bit of attribution.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, I can't find it at the moment. But Naomi Kwajancic, she set a championship record, 54.49 for the under-15 girls event. Isabella Lucen-Rowe delivered the most versatile performance of the championship when she's soaring to 1.8 metres in high jump and hurdling to 14.01 for gold and silver respectively. Isabella Wing could topple Rowe across the weekend. I'm just trying to find, there was a Talaya Blacksmith prevailed with a 5.21 metre leap for a score of 83.89 in the under-20s paralong jump. I'll have to try and keep looking for it. But there was a number of young women that did some pretty incredible. Western Australia's Amelia Reid broke the under-15 girls 100 metre twice in a matter of hours, clocking 11.71 in the final after 11.77 second showing in the heats, both well under the former meet record of 11.93. So a bunch of records were broken, guys. Head to Athletics Australia to get more information on that, because there's some unbelievable guns that have gone on and broken records over the weekend. I think Isabel Lucen-Rowe and Terrell Thorne, they went really well. So anyway, go to Athletics. You'll be able to see a bunch of records that got broken over the weekend. We got some absolute superstars coming through. So give them a follow on Instagram and follow their journeys, because as we just discussed, the games will be coming to Brisbane. Now on to some UFC and some boxing. Liam Paro went down to Hitchinson overnight in the boxing. Unfortunately, Hitchinson just a bit too technical towards the end of the fight. Did you guys get a chance to watch the boxing? I'm probably assuming not.
No.
So Paro, he's an Aussie world champion. He lost his championship overnight or yesterday. And he actually started really well, really composed. But Hitchinson just managed the distance a bit better. And every time Paro would kind of he wouldn't lunge in, but he would kind of jab his way in. He would kind of land in dead space, and Hitchinson, with his reach advantage, would win that battle. It wasn't a domination by any stretch of the imagination. It was a relatively controlled win by Hitchinson. However, each round was close. You give most of the later rounds to Hitchinson and most of the early rounds to Paro, but the later rounds, each round was won, by a few strikes, not a lot of strikes. No one was dropped. There was not really any big. It was a very technical fight. But yeah, just unfortunately, Hitchinson just a bit too rangy, and ability to control that space was just a bit too much for Paro to overcome. But Paro was really humble in defeat. He'll be back better than ever, I hope. And yeah, can't wait to see him back in the ring. And on to the UFC.
How's your thoughts on the Fury Usyk kind of preview? They've almost done like a movie trailer or a couple of different little movie trailers.
Yeah, so that's Rider season. That's been happening for a while now. They do movie trailers for every single big fight.
Elite.
So good.
Love it.
Now, Sean Strickland versus Duplessis has been confirmed for Sydney's pay-per-view in February next year. Man, I cannot wait. Their last fight was super close. But the good thing about Duplessis and Sean Strickland is the build-up is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
The chat is going to be phenomenal. So can't wait for that. That is early February next year.
And this is for a belt, yeah.
Yep, this is for the title, Duplessis. He's the title holder.
Yep.
Rachmanov, he defeated Mikado Gary, so I'm saying that incorrectly. This is actually a really close fight. Bit slow to start with, but it really ramped up towards the end. And I actually think Rachmanov is ranked third, I think, and Mikado Gary was moving up in the ranks. And I actually think Mikado Gary, I'm saying that wrong, but it's Ian Gary, he changed his name. He actually showed a lot more skill set than I thought he had. I know he talks a big game. But it was a relatively close fight, and I think that Ian Gary's got a big future in the weight division. Rachmanov got the victory, already much higher ranked than Ian Gary, I'm pretty sure. So it's going to be interesting to see if Rachmanov if he fights Bilal or he fights Edwards. It's going to be interesting.
Rachmanov had won his last 4 of his last 5 by submission.
Yep,
So
and also I'm pretty sure most of his fights hadn't been that long.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah,
this went the
Decision.
distance.
Yeah.
That, as I said, I think actually, even though Rachmanov won, you probably got a bit more out of it with Ian Gary, showing that he is on that level. Like a lot of people, because there's so much out of the cage antics with Ian Gary, like a lot of stuff going on, that a lot of people don't like him. But if you take away that and you look at the fact that he's nearly on par with Rachmanov and nearly finished him, nearly submitted him in that last round, like very close. I actually think you take a lot out of it with Ian Gary. I think there's a bit of a future there in the division for him. And then also Pantoja beats Kai Asakura. Kai Asakura coming across from another fight company. Pantoja just too good. And geez, he's on a bit of a winning streak now. I hope Kai Kara France, I think he might be next to fight him, which will be good. But Pantoja, an absolutely resounding victory there. The boys are about to fall asleep, so I'll just move along. Alrighty, well that's us done and dusted. Grumpy Coffee. Our mugs are available, plus our coffee's available at grumpycoffee.com.au. Plus also, Bloke Undies now available. I'm telling you guys, grab a pair. You will not be disappointed. These are some of the highest quality undies you can wear. They are so comfy, guys. All the boys have been wearing for quite a while now. Anything else going on, boys?
Me and Timmy next week are playing in the Jack Newton Classic up there in Newcastle. Golf on Tuesday and Wednesday. I believe it'll be on KO, so tune in and have a look.
There you go.
I think there's a few divisions below me.
It's on KO.
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, shit.
I think Kat's one of the commentators for it, so come and check it out.
There you go. Check it out. Anything going on? Face some music. We're going to face some music, baby.
Let's face a bit of music. Up at the Gabatoir this Saturday kicks off the third test. Australia $1.61, India $2.85. The draw is $11 in this one as well. Well, these first two have been played. I don't think we're going to be seeing too many draws unless there's weather in these games. So if we can get your result for the game and then a top run scorer and a top wicket taker for the first innings. I don't care what team they're from, but Mr. Cricket, I'll give you the new ball.
Is this the next test?
It is this Saturday.
I'm going to go Smith in for a big one.
Yep.
Big one.
He's $4.70. So he's putting Smith in there.
Okay, Smith, and then I'm going to go wicket taker. I'm going to go Paddy Cummins in for a big one.
Yep.
And then winner is obviously Australia.
Yep, $3.40 for Pat as well. Roo, seen him like beach balls last week.
Yeah, don't fix it if it's not broken. Copy and paste for me, mate.
Stark and Head.
Thank you.
Nice.
Good Aussies.
Yep.
I'll go Paddy Cummins, Aussies to win, and Uzi Khawaja is due for some runs. He'll bounce back.
Yep.
I'll go Aussies to win. I'll go McSweeney, and I'll go Cummins.
Yep, I don't mind what your head's out there, Matty. I was thought about McSweeney coming home to Queensland where he started his career. I just think, opening batters against Boomer with the new ball scares me a little bit. I'm going to go Boomer again. And I think I like what I saw from Usman Khawaja last week. I think he's back. He middled that one that he got out on as well. He's back at Queensland. I think he'll be set for a big score. So Labuschagne, Boomer, and the Aussies to win for me.
Boom. There you go.
Yep.
We are all done and dusted. Matty, have you put yours in? You did? Yeah. Alrighty, as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.